Hey yo.
I'll never get you.
Well, that's one hell of a way to start off an episode.
We're gonna tap in all of our viewers all from the get-go, bro.
Fuck. Welcome back. What is it? Welcome to the Anonymous Gamers. I am your host, AvatarAidan, with my friends KibbsMcGibbs and Protector of Memes.
Hello.
Sonic Adventure 2, bitch.
I can't wait for this podcast to just be us interrupting each other like over and over again, just because that's a Sonic Adventure 2 reference.
It is a Sonic Adventure 2 reference. No, it's gonna be a Sonic Adventure 2
No,
reference.
it's a real-life conversation reference.
No, Sonic Adventure 2 invented interruptions.
No, you want to make it Sonic Adventure 2, we gotta make sure that...
You know what, Kibbs? You are absolutely right. Sonic Adventure 2 did invent interruptions, just like how Persona 5 invented Japan.
Yeah.
If you want to make this Sonic Adventure 2, we gotta have terrible audio balancing.
Only if we're playing this in HD.
I mean, the videos, I make sure they are rendered at 1080p, so yeah, they are in HD.
Wow.
Okay, so we're gonna go kind of in the structure of the first adventure podcast. So let's talk about how we first experienced Sonic Adventure 2, because I think we all have very different stories with this game. Kibbs, you could go first if you want.
Yo, let's go. So, I first played Sonic Adventure 2 when I was like 7 or 8. I was at the store with my mom, and I just saw Sonic on a video game case and was like, "Mom, buy me that game." And it was like $7, and this was in like 2008.
Oh damn.
Home. Yeah, I got home. I didn't play it for like a week, and then I played it, and I absolutely blasted through that game. Even just as a kid, I just love Sonic Adventure 2. I had a great time. I played it on the GameCube. That's important to say, probably.
Oh, so you played it? You got it before the fucking GameCube nostalgia boom of the mid 2010s.
Yeah, no, this is a game I grew up playing a lot. It's single-handedly shaped my taste in music, like to what it is now.
Boy, do I know the feeling.
So that's my experience. I won't go too deep into it because that's what the rest of this is for.
You go ahead, Protector.
Well, Sonic Adventure 2. First time I ever heard of it was thanks to the history section in Secret Rings' special book. Again, from then on, most of my exposure to the game was just via secondhand stuff, like, YouTube reviews, Let's Plays. Remember those days when Let's Plays were all the rage? Good times. And also, seeing locations and boss fights, things from it brought back in games like, Generations, the various Mario and Sonic Olympic crossovers, where it's possible to snowboard in Radical Highway, right? Or do a dream trampoline event in Crazy Gadget of all locations. And I did manage to sample some of it, had it at someone else's house on their PS3, but it wouldn't be until I got my own PS3 like several years later, like we're talking, 19th birthday, in 2018, for me to finally play Sonic Adventure 2. So, and, I did think it was pretty good, one of the better games. Initially, I was one of those people that decided that SA1 was better, but, over time, it just shifted to, Adventure 2's who's the better game. It's peak. Well, it was peak, until a certain title from 2008 showed up, but we can talk about that another time in, I don't know, like 2 years maybe? But yeah.
So, I never grew up with Adventure 2. I have never experienced it I had an aunt who had a GameCube and had it. I would just play Mario Sunshine instead. But, I only knew about this game via, passing, YouTube video thumbnails and most of the music I heard from Sonic Stop Motion Adventures. God.
Oh
feel
man,
old.
Sonic Stop Motion Adventures, those were the days.
But it took me until fucking 2016 to play the game. I got it on Xbox 360 via the HD remaster. I didn't get the battle port, I just got the fucking Dreamcast HD version.
Not really. Sonic Adventure 2 HD is just Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, but without the battle content, unless you buy the DLC.
Yeah, I already have it on PC. We can talk about that in the next segment. But I moved out of my father's house to live with my mom for the latter half of school, basically middle and high school. And I found my aunt's copy of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. And this is back when I made stupid decisions and still had a GameCube. And I would play Sonic Adventure 2 on GameCube religiously until I sold it because I'm dumb. Like
What?
I said. Yeah.
I still have my.
Hey, look, man, I would forgive you if it was, your parents forcing you to sell it. And, like, that shit's kind of out of your control, and, I've been there concerning my PS2 collection, but nah, this is unforgivable.
Here's the sad part. I sold it for Sonic Forces.
That's kind of funny. I'm not. I just.
Look, I was a teenager. I don't have a job.
That's fair.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was a teenager too. I just accepted that, and my parents were likely going to had Sonic Forces first for my 18th birthday alongside my Switch, and what do you know, it happened.
Look, it was a fucking miracle I was able to afford a fucking Switch.
Sure.
Okay, so now we can talk about, since there are multiple versions of Adventure 2, aka 3, how did we play this version?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've never touched it on Dreamcast or GameCube. It has just been the HD version, which, saying this right now, not nearly as much of a disappointment as regular SADX or SADX HD. But, they could have made the whole thing widescreen instead of having some cutscenes still be in 4x3 because of effects. Not to mention, cutscene sound balancing HD version.
It's like the equivalent of like hearing someone talking on a microphone on Fox News.
Obviously there's some mods that improve the experience now, better sound balancing thing for one thing, and if you really want the Dreamcast models and Dreamcast cutscene camera angles, there you go. But I do think that SA2 HD, unlike regular SADX or Colors Ultimate, and is a legitimately fine way to experience the game.
I feel like SA2 HD is like the one where so you know me, I never mod my games unless I want, unless it's Sonic Adventure on PC. I think Adventure 2 I'm probably gonna give it a mod soon, probably the audio balancing one. I've never been that against 4x3 cutscenes, honestly. It's not that big of a deal for me.
Inconsistent, we've got all bits of gameplay and quite a few cutscenes in 16:9. And yeah, here's some others that are in 4x3 instead of just being the same aspect ratio the whole way out.
It's probably in 4x3 because the ones in 4x3 are pre-rendered cutscenes or use special effects, so that makes sense.
The ones that make special effects could still be brought to widescreen, because let's face it, the ones that don't still have those odd moments where you can clearly tell that these cutscenes were not made for a widescreen TV.
Yeah. I've not ever been too picky about the aspect ratio of the cutscenes. I mean, just completely unrelated, but I think it's the fourth Transformers movie changes its aspect ratio literally every other scene. It drove me nuts. So I'm as long as it's consistent, I don't care what the aspect ratio is.
To be honest, I have never seen any of the Michael Bay Transformers movies after Dark of the Moon.
Don't watch them. They're the most offensive shit on the planet.
I'm not even a Transformers fan, and they just suck.
I mean, to be honest, it seems like whatever Michael Bay touches is, just going to go down in flames eventually.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I have a terrible story.
Anyways, we were talking about Sonic Adventure 2 ports.
Also, I noticed this in my recent playthrough, but like in the HD version, like cutscenes can have the Adventure 2 battle models, and then like some stuff like the Sonic and Shadow like encounter in Green Forest is like they're the Dreamcast version because you can tell because their ears are spiky. And I just found that really fascinating.
I mean, that could also be the lower poly models that, trigger when the character is at a distance, akin to Super Mario 64, which is probably how SA2 on Dreamcast was able to run at 60 FPS, smooth 60 FPS at that, unlike, I think, the 30 FPS of the original adventure.
Yeah.
I never played the first Sonic Adventure. Or rather, okay, I never finished it. I played it when this game kind of cheeks, and then went back to playing Sonic Adventure 2.
The biggest thing is after people saw the first Adventure podcast, will Aidan think that Sonic Adventure 2 has awfully aged terribly to make it mid?
Uh-oh.
I don't think we need a bootleg Jay's reviews in here.
But let's talk about the soundtrack, because I think that there's just been this debate recently I've seen online in Sonic Discourse about Adventure 1 versus Adventure 2 OST.
Who clears?
I mean, to be honest, it's been a
easy.
thing since the dawn of time. I mean, a lot of people prefer a variety of adventure, whereas the more character-driven aspect of SA2 is what sells it for many. Or, if you just simply like a lot of good rock music, which SA2 has got in abundance.
Yeah. Like I said, SA2 just entirely shaped my taste in music. I just listen to
I mean, to be honest, Sonic in general just shaped my taste in music. Rush, Secret Rings, Unleashed, Black Ignite, and even Advanced Free need to some degree. Like, I know what it's like.
Yeah.
This is the hardest. It's personally hard because there's songs I prefer in Adventure 1, but there's also songs I prefer in Adventure, vocal themes. I think the Adventure 1 renditions are better.
That's when it comes down to the vocal themes for the heroes. SA2's still got plenty of original vocal themes backing it up, and obviously SA1 has the better versions of It Doesn't Matter, one of the best vocal themes in Sonic history, Believe in Myself and Unknown from ME. But let's not neglect to mention that SA2's got stuff like Throw It All Away, EGGMAN, and of course, Supporting Me.
Listen, I'm gonna be that basic stupid idiot that just says this
I
game's
know,
got
live and learn, escape from the city.
Live and learn. Yeah. Come on. Don't go me out so hard like that. But listen, just
the moment you said basic bitch, I saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, those two songs that were so peak. They're just so peak that nothing can
So peak there in Smash 4 and Ultimate.
It doesn't matter.
No, Live and Learn was also in Brawl. It just didn't have escape from the city.
They're in for a reason.
They're so peak they got remixes in Generations.
Well, Live and Learn didn't really get a remix.
Well, at least it Escape from the City did twice.
That is very true. You know what else got 2 remixes in Generations? Vengeance is Mine, the theme of Radical Highway. And you got 2 mixes. What a shit.
I think the speed style songs are I'm more akin to Sonic's speed stage soundtrack compared to Shadow's. I could just jam out to Metal Harbor any day.
Yeah, Sonic's stage themes stick to, the traditional Jun Sonoe rock we're all familiar with. The kind of rock music that just fits the blue rat like a glove.
Yeah.
Shadow, meanwhile, definitely has some more artificial elements to, hammer in the fact that, he's an artificial creation, ultimate life form, but it alternates between rock with a hint of techno, like, Vengeance is Mine and Mr. Unsmiley, allowed which is the theme for Skyrail. But then it also shifts to a genre called House, if I remember correctly, for Rhythm and Balance, like Jungle, and the Supernatural for Final Chase.
House?
I mean, to be honest, there's also another music genre called New Jack Swing, and I have no idea what the hell that's supposed to mean. Never mind, that was the genre that Sonic's early music was founded on.
That's incredible.
That's so hilarious.
You just say a string of 3 words and call it a music genre, and I'd believe you.
Yo, Booby Dick Poo. That's the next music genre.
God, that's the worst example you could have.
Anyway, yeah, if there's, if we're going to, we'll be, taking a look at the subtle differences in the various rock themes for SA2. It should be mentioned that while a lot of people have criticized the game for being mostly rock, not having a lot of genre variety, there are some subtle but noticeable differences between each character's stage themes that use rock. Like, we've already gone over Sonic and Shadows, but Tails' songs are a little more lax in pace compared to Sonic, where it's just like, go, 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 with some synth and sitar stuff thrown in for good measure. And then, of course, Eggman and songs lean towards a bit more of an industrial angle while still keeping that slower pace. Noah can easily amp up, as seen in Crush 'Em All for Weapons Bad. Knuckles and Rouge are really the only characters that seem to deviate greatly from rock, where Knuckles gets what are supposed to be considered raps. Perhaps, though I don't really see it when it comes to the lyrics, performed by Honey P, with compositions done by the likes of Tomoyo Otani, and his name will come up frequently as we go along this series phase. And then, of course, we've also got the jazz themes for Rouge's stages.
I gotta know what you guys think of the Knuckles songs.
Bro, they slap so fucking hard.
Right? Oh my goodness, I was worried.
God,
I was worried you'd hate them. Dude, they're so good. Ghost Pumpkin Soup or whatever.
Yeah.
The Pumpkin Hill theme.
Yeah.
That was my
No,
I'm gonna agree here.
It.
Knuckles' stage themes. I'm not sure if they could be considered legitimate rap music, but on the other hand, it's some good shit. A Ghost Pumpkin Soup and Space Trip steps as being the highlights.
Yeah.
No,
Bro.
we must highlight Kick the Rock's lyrics of how Knuckles considers Rouge the Bat to be sexy and smooth, and that he's feeling her in mysterious ways, but then wants her to give her up and die because he doesn't love her.
Bros, hear me out.
Okay.
This is like the dive into the mellow. Oh, the perfect song to vibe to, so good.
More of a
one of my favorite Knuckles
I
songs.
need something to vibe
So good.
to. If I had to pick favorites on the soundtrack, right now, Highway in the Sky for Final Rush, that goes so damn hard. Down in the Bass for Tails' Hidden and bass, with Shadow, it's gonna be Vengeance is Mine. I would pick Rhythm and Balance, but the Forces remix makes clears. There's Crush 'Em All's another favorite. And when it comes to the vocal themes, there is nothing better than Supporting Me. Although the Generations 3DS remix for that is at least on par. Though shoutouts to Masters of the Desert, which is one of the best boss themes in the franchise. And I've also got a soft spot for Shut Up, Faker.
I think my favorites are, I don't know the names on the top of my head, but Metal Harbor is my favorite Sonic one, easily. Especially
the theme is called That's the Way I Like It.
Especially the soundtrack version where it slowly builds up to that banging guitar. I think my two favorite Knuckles songs are Pumpkin Hill and Aquatic. I have a hard time with Tails and Rouge. I'm not really a big fan of them most. They're just good background tracks while playing the game to me. It's just something I want to jam out to.
No, that's
Radical Highway for Shadow, easy pick.
Yep.
And Weapons Bed for Eggman. That one's really good as well. Oh no,
Fucking
Cosmic
A.
Wall! Cosmic Wall! That was also really good.
Dude, honestly, you and I have like the same takes here. Just my favorite Sonic one is City Escape, because once again, basic. And yeah, no, literally, otherwise, we just have the same take.
I mean, City Escape's also like really good. I just prefer the instrumentation of Metal
To be
Harbor
honest,
more.
with
Yeah, I think I'd probably give
in
the edge
case
to
of
Metal Harbor.
SA2's most popular tracks, I'm not really as big on them as most are, probably because I've spent so much time listening to all the various Sonic OSTs on a regular that the vanilla picks just don't quite do it for me nearly as much. In fact, you know, mild take here, I don't really consider a lot of the main vocal themes in the Sonic games and have them to be the best themes they have, with notable exceptions being like I Am All of Me for Shadow the Hedgehog, Uncle 55 for Zero Gravity, Free for Free Riders, but we can get to those when we get to those. Eventually.
I remember when I was in like middle school, I was in choir class, and we did this thing once where everyone just, well, not everyone, but people would raise their hand and they'd say a song that they want to show the class, and then we would write about the song. And I picked "Live and Learn" from Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay, but that's
and
actually
it
kind
was
of the
so-
same with me. Funny enough, of when my English class in second year was tasked with, deciphering the meanings behind the song's lyrics. I initially went for I Am All of Me, but went for Night of the Wind, which was far easier to write about.
After I played the song for the class, a few of the people were like, "Dang, I didn't know you listened to like heavier stuff like that." And I was just like, "Bro, it's Sonic."
Funnily enough, my first choice for a Sonic song to show to everyone at high school was I Am All of Me, and they weren't quite jiving. Thing with it, in hindsight, Endless possibly would have been a better pick.
Ooh, no, definitely.
I wish I played I Am All of
City Escape.
No. I kind of wish I played I Am All of Me because I went to a Catholic school and that's like the most demonic Sonic song you could play at a Catholic school.
I don't know. Almost Dead would fit the bill, but
Just like
Sonic Adventure 2,
all
we
of that.
are already deviating from the topic so damn much, and we haven't even talked
Here, I'll bring it back.
about the cheap
I'll bring it-
flights with no food or movies.
No. I gotta believe. Just believe me. I should have shown everyone Ghost. Oh man, I'm so stupid. Sorry, I forgot that that's the name. Just show everyone that, and just lose all reputation. Like, loser.
I mean, in my case, I didn't really have a reputation worth holding.
That's fair. I don't know if I had a reputation either. It was middle school, but I mean, everyone liked to
Middle
live and
school doesn't
learn, which is
exist over
surprising.
here.
Like, even people who don't love Sonic live and learn. In my
it's the
experience.
most iconic, like one of the most iconic songs in gaming. Like, of course, people are gonna recognize it.
No, it's good. It's so
The only
good.
Sonic song more iconic than that is Green Hill Zone, one I'm already tired of hearing, but we can save that later. Now,
Okay, let's get back.
yeah,
to...
in short,
Yeah,
I
there's
do
a game in the
consider
background.
SA2's OST to be on the same level of quality as Adventure 1's. Now, when I put a Sonic OST tier list together, I just slapped a lot of OSTs into the highest tier that I dubbed Forged by the Gods.
I only remember like one track from SA1. I just like to me.
You don't
to me,
remember
it's
the
no
vocal
contest.
themes? Aims Azure Blue World, Red Hot Skull, Skydecker,
No.
Go-Go, Crank the Heat Up? None of that?
No.
Not even Be
Goes
Cool, Be Groovy, Be
Completely
Wild.
over my head.
It's be cool, be wild, and then be groovy. Like, come on.
Ice Cap snowboard section.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
No, like I said, to me, I don't know. It's probably just because I've played Sonic Adventure 2 like literally 30 times, but the tracks just stand out more. That's pretty crazy, right? Like, I didn't even finish Sonic Adventure 1, but
It
Sonic
probably
Adventure 2.
also helped that, because of SA2 Battle's success on the GameCube, like it's the best-selling third-party title on that system, that helped propel a lot of SA2 to stardom.
Is that actually true? Is that the best-selling third-party game on the GameCube?
It's
Well,
one
I mean,
of
I
them.
don't see any Capcom or Konami or Namco title gain up there.
Dang. I'm checking.
It should also be mentioned that
You're
another
right.
Sonic
Whoa,
game
that's
reached the
crazy.
best-selling. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Sonic actually had 2 titles in the best-selling games on GameCube list. The other being Mega Collection.
Oh yeah.
Sonic was thriving back then.
Honestly, bro.
Yeah, bro was fucking slaying.
We gotta talk about a game now. We gotta talk about the game of the game.
Oh yeah, the gameplay.
So,
Yeah,
I'll say it.
Hero's story. If that.
I was actually gonna say, because this isn't like Sonic Adventure where the campaigns are like split across 6 uneven sections. So I think it's best if we talk about the gameplay styles first. Then we talk about extra missions, since I'm pretty sure we played some of the extra missions, like 100 rank, stuff like that.
I mean, I went through all the extra missions, got all the A ranks. Get on my level, scrub.
Hey, I got Green Hill Zone. Get on my level.
Yeah, get on the level
Fair
of having to
enough.
sit for a tedious grind. Got it.
Hey. I have the patience for it. You don't. That's a skill issue.
I had the patience to do the
Honestly,
Chao
it is.
Garden and an SA1, and it still sucked balls.
I'd probably if I played Adventure 2 more recently, like I probably would have gotten Green Hill just because it's something I've always wanted to do. I'll do it before I die. But
Well, you can get it on the racing consoles now. I think Xbox as well. Yeah, Xbox.
yeah, I've got,
Yeah, well,
I have it on. I have it
Xbox
on
and PC are the way to go
Steam.
for Adventure 2. PlayStation doesn't believe in backwards compatibility unless it's with the PS4.
It's a little crazy, a little silly.
But we talk about gameplay styles in order that we first get introduced to them. Then we talk about
In the hero
Chao-
side story, so that's going to be, speed stages, treasure hunting, and then mechs.
Yep. Then we talk about Chao Garden. Then we talk about emblems and extra missions, and we'll throw in Green Hill Zone. Then we could talk about the story.
Yeah, the story's going to be the big one.
Yeah. So Sonic and Shadow's playstyle, the speed-centric stages. What do we think about them overall?
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to have to preface
They're
this
good.
right now. Oh, sorry, Kibbs.
I'm gonna say a hot take. They're good. Dare I say the best parts?
Okay, look, the term hot take means jack and shit in this day and age because, let's face it, if you're insane and moronic enough, this is very important. It has to be the two combined together. Anything could be a hot take. You could say that oxygen is good for you, and then someone's gonna be like, actually, it isn't, while their ton is blue and they're dying of oxygen starvation, Don't see you in hell, by the way.
Actually, it's not oxygen, it's carbon dioxide that's better for you.
Actually, nobody gives a shit. Anyways, as I was saying, to preface this right now, because apparently we're going to be bringing up, debates on kind of matter outside of our own opinions, SA2 whose stages as for Sonic and Shadow are typically, under fire because they are more linear and not as, alternate pathway driven as Sonic Adventure 1 speed stages, though a recent playthrough of Adventure 1 just reminded me that, not all of the levels were really, didn't really have a lot of alternate pathways. I mean, Windy Valley, he barely has any in its first section before becoming a linear gauntlet. And for the rest of it, Casinopolis pretty much speaks for itself. Lost World, is also straightforward until you get to the shifting panel room. Stuff like that. It's... yeah. By contrast, SA2 does keep branching pathways down to a bit of a minimum by a comparison. However, this is not to the game's detriment. Just because it's linear doesn't mean it's mindless, unlike Forces. Because, you look at City Escape, just to throw that in right now, like, you're doing snowboarding and jumping off of ramps to perform some sick tricks to reach item capsules that can get you rings and extra lives and shit. You're tearing down the streets of San Francisco. By the way, Sonic can snowboard on solid concrete. He is automatically cooler than everyone else on the planet because of that.
That's so true.
And then you're running down on the various parks of San Francisco, grinding down railings, while the gun mechs are after your ass. As you're shifting in and out of the main roads, it's shredding, down more railing. You get to the final section where you're on truck. And mind you, while you're doing all this, you're also getting enemy chains. Haynes gonna pull some sick tricks to get a bonus. Haynes trying to kill that elusive gold disappear. As points. Haynes' game is trying to keep you running down what would otherwise possibly be a linear hallway. All culminating in reaching the goal range, seeing that score tally up with your end of level showing how well you did. And oh yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 brought in one of many series staples, the rankings, contrasting with SA1 where the ranking system just amounted to different missions for emblems. This time you are genuinely graded on how well you've done in the level. If you've just simply passed through the level, but you also got hit a lot, barely killed any enemies, died like a little bitch over and over, you're gonna get an E. But as you do better, you can get a D, you can get a C, you can get a B, and the highest rank, which is an A. And when you pull off an A rank and you escape without a single upgrade to Sonic's name, you feel like a badass.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one thing I will say about these stages. Is in general, they are very much set-piece driven, and compared to SA1, which is a bit more lax in that department, partially because, branching pathways in some of the levels, and the ultimately more simplistic by comparison, and gameplay that's a bit more faithful to the Mega Drive. Classics like, snowboarding down San Francisco and getting chased by a big truck that's causing more damage to the city than you are. It's the tip of the iceberg, you get stuff like tearing through the military's bay while being assaulted, by fighter jets, launching rockets, and then grabbing a missile just as it's about to take off, and then dropping off of it before escaping the complex, blitzing through a forest, swinging on vines, when the clock is literally ticking before the island and blows up, shredding down the Golden Gate Bridge and Radical Highway. The game makes sure to keep you busy. It is not at all dull.
I always thought before this recent playthrough that I preferred the SA1 stages more, because they were more explorative. And they are, to some extent, like you said, Protector, just like Windy Valley, Casinopolis, and Lost World are a bit more linear in that department. Even Skydeck, I would say, is a lot more linear, just like with 2 diverging pathways at the beginning.
Yeah, the best levels in SA1 can definitely embody this more like Emerald Coast, Twinkle Park, namely the actual platforming bit, not the Twinkle Park bit. But Speed Highway and Red Mountain do genuinely have all that in spades. With ample means to cut through the level in a shorter time. But SA2, it's built different.
But on this recent playthrough, I actually went out of my way to try to find a diverging pathway if there was, like in Green Forest, at the beginning. You either go forward and defeat the robots, or go to the top left and take a ring dash and do a ring dash trail.
Or you could kill the robots, then take the ring dash for optimum pointage.
For optimum coolness.
I honestly really like the levels are more linear in this game. Even though it's not like Forces where you just hit a button and the game basically plays itself.
Literally
Hey,
does in the case of Luminous Forest because you can
still-
beat that one-handed.
There's still thought that goes into playing the game, and I think that's really what matters. I mean, it's pre-boost, so you know you can't just boost your way through everything.
But I will say this game has same button syndrome, and I don't like it.
I think Same Button Syndrome did kind of reach an all-time high with Sonic specifically, because here's the thing, you know, because of the character upgrades, and, you know, quickly addressing this right now, all the character upgrades are found in levels. Some of them right in plain sight, others you have to look for, or possibly revisit an earlier level with other upgrades needs to get. Though saying that right now, you do not need the Lightspeed Dash to get Shadow's Flaming Radical Highway. You can just spin dash jump over the gap and get it that way, making Shadow the only character you don't need to backtrack for when it comes to upgrades. Anyways, you know, Sonic has quite a bit on the action button, which, for simplicity's sake, we'll say is square on a PlayStation controller. Like, you know, that's the somersault, which is primarily meant for, you know, getting under tight passageways. You could also phrase it as pressing the square button to slide. Right? But, yeah, you know, holding it down on the ground also gets you the spin dash, which is not nearly as OP, but it's still got some really good launching power. And if a grind rail is connected to the ground, using a spin dash to send yourself a maximum velocity will send you flying down that rail. You know, but you know, there's also the Lightspeed Dash, which now works as a single button press instead of having to rev it up. So yeah, no longer do you have to rev up the LSD, it just comes with the press of a button. But then we also have the bounce attack, which turns Sonic into a living basketball to get some extra airtime. Not to mention that it can also maintain an enemy chain score bonus because Sonic's feet aren't touching the ground, which can lead to some interesting runs. And then of course there's the magic hand, but they're fucking useless and I only get them to make Sonic think more decked out in accessories. It is very possible that at times that if you want to do a Lightspeed Dash, you could end up doing a somersault or a bounce attack, like depending on whether or not you're in the ground or in the air. And I can imagine that for some people it is kind of frustrating. What does help is trying to stay like right in front of that chain of rings and keep an eye on the top right of the screen to see if the button prompt comes up. But, you know, that's not always reliable. Shadow doesn't suffer from this nearly as much though, because he doesn't get the bounce bracelet or the magic hands. He's just got hands and the Lightspeed Dash.
There's so many times where I just hit a button and I go somersault off the edge and go, oh, oops.
I don't know if this is... I prefer it when Sonic has to rev up. Well, if
you still have to rev up for the Lightspeed attack, but one, that upgrade is optional, and two, outside of the chain of enemies that's placed right after in Shadow's Sky Rail, it's pretty much useless.
I just prefer it because it's like, this is pretty Unleashed I'm talking about. Well, Unleashed has its own Lightspeed Dash. Probably we'll talk about that in like 2 years. But it's just like, I don't mind it being instantaneous. It's just that sometimes it's really unreliable and can be a bit finicky.
Yeah.
But like with it revving up, I don't have that issue. Like, sure, it'll miss a ring, but like by that point you're already at the other side, so it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I think that it was really just as simple as assigning the Lightspeed Dash to another button, because there is a mod for the PC version of SA2 that does do this, because, you know, gonna be real, the Somersault, Lightspeed Dash, and Bounce Attack all being on the same button isn't really that big of an issue on its own. It's just because of how it could affect the Lightspeed Dash that it does has become annoying.
Yeah.
I just prefer the Lightspeed Dash to be on the Y button instead of the X button.
I think if they just like, because I think they wanted it to be just like instant, essentially, just to make the flow of the game better, just so you don't have to like rev it up and whatnot. But
yeah, like I do prefer that SA2 just straight up made it instantaneous, and it doesn't fuck up enough for me to be like, nah, man, I'd take the revving up of SA1, because, you know, like the revving up the LSD and SA1 just took a bit too long. Like, even with the Crystal Ring, at times it items as long as the camera angle allowed it, you probably were better off doing a spin dash jump instead.
I like the balance bracelet because it keeps your combo game up as well. Like, that's probably the best part about the balance bracelet, not the added mobility. Flame Ring's just not as useful, probably because it's like...
Flame Ring is actually technically a shared upgrade across all characters, you know, because of its functionality, break it open, steal crates.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously for every character, it's, you know, changed up. Like, for Tails and Eggman, it's like a bazooka. For Knuckles and Rouge, it's like iron knuckles and pick nails.
Pick nails. No, I thought breaking crates with Rouge was boots. Or her boots. Or booty boot.
I mean, the pick nails are attached to her boots.
I did not know that. Okay.
Well, I mean, she doesn't throw hands. She throws feet.
I mean, she's gotta keep those beauties on.
But, yeah, you know, as we were saying, yeah, that Sonic himself definitely does suffer a bit from same button on syndrome, and, you know, SA2 HD probably could have solved this by simply, you know, okay, simply in theory, because I know that when it comes to game coding, it's, like, extremely complex to try and figure out how to program this one very basic thing. But it really would have been fixed if they just made the Lightspeed Dash its own separate button. Do that, and that would have alleviated so many problems.
Yeah.
This is a world pre-Unity, so I can understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, what else? Oh yeah, the homing attack. I noticed on this playthrough, it tends to whiff more than usual.
It hasn't really whiffed for me on my most recent playthrough, outside of, like, 2 instances. One in Skywell, when I was trying to homing attack, like, the weird spring things, and for some reason it had ended up veering off towards an enemy nearby, and one specific enemy chain in Green Forest, but other than that, it was, you know, just as reliable as ever. What usually helped is if I just held the jump button down after landing a homing attack to do the whole badnik bounce thing.
That didn't work for me because, like, I did what you told me to do, hold down the button, and I just, like, it wouldn't go higher. It would just maybe not go high at all.
There were a lot of instances
For some of us, that's the more recent games make us that a homing attack is something you can do pretty much when the enemy is literally on the same elevation as you instead of just simply being below, or in some games cases, like, even just slightly above you. In the adventure games, and by extension, and Heroes to an extent, it was, you know, primarily having the enemies be below you to make the homing attack work.
Yeah.
I had it with quite a lot. Just from my memory, I remember the homing attack was a little frustrating, but it never got to be too bad. But
you know, I could still comfortably get A ranks in the speed stages, so it wasn't really too much of a problem. And you know, because I've replayed both SA2 and Shadow the Hedgehog's own game quite frequently, I can tell you right now, Shadow the Hedgehog's homing attack is a lot more unreliable.
It's this destroy homing attack. Let's go.
I mean, not just that, but also because of some other stuff in Shadow the Hedgehog. But you know, we are jumping ahead to other games frequently.
That's because, like, comparing 3D Sonic games is just the way of a Sonic fan.
yeah, it's just what you do.
Yeah.
It's also just game discussion in general. Like, comparisons are inevitable. Kind of like that purple guy from Marvel. You know, the man behind the slaughter of half the universe.
Thanos.
That hurt my brain. I'm not gonna lie. I just like purple guy, like Freddy Five Nights. You said like Thanos. I'm like, huh? Okay.
Oh god, okay, Protector, we gotta get Luna in here. We gotta make sure he remembers the FNAF lore again.
Oh, I saw a tweet.
No.
I saw a tweet. Luna's presentation is already outdated. Literally the day after, I saw new Five Nights at Freddy's lore and went, oh, Luna's gonna lose his mind.
Oh yeah, it concerns Burn Trap, but yeah, you know. Well, I guess we're going to fast forward to the next part of the Speed Stages discussion. If I had to pick favorites, there's actually quite a few. In fact, I would even dare say that the only Speed Stage I don't really care for is Crazy Gadget, because its anti-gravity gimmick was kind of annoying thing to deal with and didn't really maintain the same flow, but you know, City Escape's a goddamn classic for a reason, and Metal Harbor's tense as hell as you're trying to shoot for an A rank and get a higher handlebar in the rocket, which, you know, it can come down to the wire on a lot of occasions, but if you nail it and that A rank, then, you know, you feel like a god. Green Forest, Mist and White Jungle are both really fun, and races to the finish against the clock. Sky Rail is really fun, and rail grinding on Pumpkin Hill. So, I do like its unique gimmick, like of having the weird fan springs. And Pyramid Caves is pretty decent, and even has the whole, you know, bounce bracelet thing. I mean, on top of some, you know, neat little puzzle moments, I guess. As Final Chase is gravity drums, where, okay, they can be a little finicky to some, but they've been reliable enough for me to always go back to that stage repeatedly. Though if I had to pick my absolute favorites, Radical Highway is just, you know, the best shadow level. Like, nothing beats shredding down the Golden Gate Bridge. And if we're going to talk the best speed stage, it's Final Rush, because that one separates the men from the boys. At least when it comes to the game through it. Like, it's fun enough when you're just doing the whole standard route, but when you're going for those skill-based runs where you're chained together, risky jumps, the occasional enemy, chains, and going and, you know, jumping off those upwards grind rails at just the right time to get some major airtime and take Lord knows how many shortcuts crammed into the one section where you're doing a lot of that. You go through all that, you don't die, and you nail that A rank. I think it is one of the greatest feelings in any Sonic game, and I will not hear otherwise.
If I were to say what I thought of the stages overall, City Escape is a classic, yes. Metal Harbor is probably my favorite. Biased because of music, obviously, but I actually like speeding through that stage. I like, the fun part is just like going on the boat where they launch all the aircrafts, and you can just jump and destroy the plane. Yeah. It's so funny. And that rush to the top of the rocket, and when you get to the very top, and you have like a minute and 30 milliseconds, a second and 30 milliseconds left, I am the almighty being. You will all bow before me. Green Forest is also really good. Pyramid Cave is on the lesser end for me, because I don't like the moments where you have to like diverge and do the puzzle segments. I say that when there's like two, but like the really long ones, like tedious on replays. I was always a fan of Crazy Gadget. I always liked the gravity manipulation gimmick.
You must have been a big fan of it showing up in Mario and Sonic London 2012.
I never played that game. Final Rush is a good one as well. I just think the heading upwards, like grinding upwards, that section was a little slow, but you know, you could always just jump off the rail literally at the end and like get some ridiculous air skip like most of it. Radical Highway, banger as always.
True.
White Jungle is on the lesser end as well. Just because like it's not as tense as Green Hill, probably because you have more time with Shadow and White Jungle.
Not as tense as Green Hill.
I mean, I could talk about Green Hill.
I agree. It turns out whenever I have to see the same grass and checkerboarded soil alongside the fact that it's looking a lot more like Sand Hill right about now.
I'm gonna make Sonic fans clench their toes so hard today. But no, White Jungle is on the lesser end because it's not as like tense feeling as Green Forest. Also, I just feel like the final segment of White Jungle is automated, unlike Green Forest's final segment where like, you actively have to try to hit the springs. And Skyrail, another banger level, I think. I love how it's.
I mean,
like...
it's set in Pumpkin Hill, so of course it's gonna be a banger.
But I like because like my favorite speed stages in this game are ones where like there are like moments where it looks slow, but you're able to keep your momentum up. Like the spring, like the fan springs do that as well because you have to like make go up as like you know what I mean. Also like I love rails.
You have to homing attack them in a fast rhythm to be able to get up.
Rail switching sucks. But I barely need to do that in Skyrail.
Yeah.
And Final Chase is my least favorite. I just hate those tubes so fucking much. They're such a pace breaker. Like I want to like destroy them with my bare
really doesn't
hand.
like Sonic 2 for the Sega Game Gear because of all them tubes.
I don't like Sonic 2 on Game Gear, of course.
It's so sad. Final Chase is like one of my favorite levels.
You know, Kibbs, if we were actually physically in the same room right now, I would, hubby, wanting to give you a high five for that.
It's so good.
You would be Bart Simpson. I would be Homer Simpson. I would strangle the life out of you.
There is straight up like one bad speed stage. Like Cityscape is a banger. Metal Harbor is a banger. Green Forest, banger. Pyramid Cave is the first time I learned how to clip through something like intentionally. Because this is kind of the worst one, but there's a soft spot in my heart for it.
Oh yeah, super.
Crazy Gadgets, fun. Final Rush is actually probably my favorite speed stage, next to Final Chase.
Fucking.
Just.
Dang.
Because you could just fly over everything. And I love being like, okay, is that a rail down over there? And then just like launching Sonic as far as I can. And I mean, you know, of course the Shadow stages are the same. Like Radical Highway is a banger. I like White Jungle. I think that one's pretty good. I think it's a banger. Skyrail gave me the most trouble as a kid. That was the one stage I vehemently like hated the first half because
I'm going to assume that was because you weren't a big fan of, you know, grind rail mechanics.
No, I love the grind rail mechanics. I was just an idiot. I just didn't know how to play the game, and that's the one I constantly messed up on. And then yeah, Final Chase is also peak. So like,
I would say this: Skyrail, when trying to get all the A ranks or Shadow stages, definitely gave me in the most trouble.
Yeah.
I think none of the Shadow stages were hard in terms of A ranks for me. Not even Final Chase. It was Sonic's What stage was it? Was it Pyramid Cave? No, it wasn't Space. It was Final Rush and Pyramid Cave that gave me trouble. Not even Space Gadget gave me trouble. But like in terms of like A ranks, I think the Sonics, like those two like Sonic stages are the trickiest ones, but they're not there's not anything to like scream over. Like you can get a B rank, you're like, oh, I could just try better next time.
The only thing that gets in the way of, you know, Shadow A ranks, you know, outside of Skyrail being a bit finicky at times with that, is, you know, the fourth mission of Radical Highway, where you gotta get to the end on a time limit. And unless you know to, you know, spin dash jump around an automated segment and hold down a homing attack on a triple spring and to get enough air time to air dash up to a further part of the level instead of taking the long way around, you're probably not going to make the A time itself, let alone the A rank. But you know, that was really the only moment.
I never did that. I never did that, and I still got the A rank. I guess I am a gamer god.
I just didn't go for A ranks a lot of the time. I just liked really playing the game. I didn't care what rank I got.
I mean, fair enough. Okay, so let's talk about treasure hunting.
Okay, so people hate treasure hunting in SA2 because you don't see all of the shards on the radar. and also because of certain levels, but, we can get to that in a bit. I'll just say this right now. I do think that perhaps they should have kept the whole being able to detect all shards and at any given time thing. Like, I can kind of understand why it's like this in SA2, primarily because of the new hint system, but I feel like it could have been reworked into something that would have been the best of both worlds. Like having certain hint monitors correspond to certain shards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
hint, something more specific, and then having the last hint be like, this is exactly where it is, dipshit, that sort of thing. But not at the cost of radar detection. Though I will say this right now, in practically every other area for the most part, treasure hunting is kind of better in SA2 than it is in SA1 because, I'm gonna be real, the Knuckles stages in SA1 were just kind of going in one ear and out the other because of how levels were kind of fairly boxed in, but not too boxed in, which we'll get until later. Beside, with the sole exception of Red Mountain, because that was actually genuinely a lot more open-ended, and it was rather quick to just track down all the Emerald shards. And it also didn't help that SA1's idea of hints was literally just to call flying in the direction of the shard. Like, no, subtle thing that would get the player to think about where they're exploring. It's like, nah, man, this is just where it is. End of.
I remember also in SA1, you didn't really need to dig that much in Red Mountain. I don't even think it's not
Red Mountain was practically the only time where you absolutely needed to dig, and that was probably just to justify the existence of the shovel claws.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
But hey, at least the shovel claws got an intended use out those, which I can't really say about the maximum heat Knuckles attack. But on that note, for the actual core control of the treasure hunting stages, Knuckles and Rouge control like a goddamn dream, smooth ass turning, really good feel to their weight, and because of how big some of their stages can get, they can even be kind of faster than Sonic and Shadow on occasion. Really noticeable in Meteor Herd because, seriously, look at Knuckles go.
Yeah.
Combat's been improved a bit because Knuckles doesn't have a generic 1-2 punch with a dash forward. You've now got a 1-2 and then a sure you can, which you can perform instantly if you twirl around a bit and then press the attack button. You've also got a dive that can just send you straight down, and if you do it right on the top of Meteor Herd, your life will finally be complete. Shovel claws are now something you can also do at a drop of hat. You just press the attack button when on the wall, or just dive into the ground. There's no having to press the jump and action buttons simultaneously. Hey, it's really good. And on top of that, you can also get an optional upgrade for Knuckles and Rouge that allows them to detect hidden stuff like springs into item capsules, usually required for the fifth missions in their stages. Knuckles gets a sweet pair of shades, and Rouge just gets a kind of a generic treasure scope, which, I get, and it's because of her occupation, but, Knuckles has got the drip.
Knuckles also got that oxygen necklace with extra drip attached to it.
To be honest, actually, you know what? Rouge probably could have used an air necklace of her own because of the fact that there is every chance you will need to go underwater in Dry Lagoon. And it can be annoying having to dip in and out of the water for air while waiting for the turtle that you're supposed to grab onto to show up, but yeah. When it comes to the best treasure hunting stages, is I feel that them being more open really helps sell the exploration aspects. Like, obviously with the likes of Wild Canyon and Dry Lagoon, it has to be a little more boxed in because those are the opening stages. You're supposed to be eased into the whole thing. There's still quite a bit of space needs to move around, and it's fairly like easy to understand where everything is. Pumpkin Hill is where the open-ended treasure hunting shines through, because it's just simply how much space you have to maneuver around. And with each of the titular Pumpkin Hills having their own distinct set pieces, like the church, the graveyard, and the train station and stuff, it's really nice. As I gotta say, Security Hall is also one I feel like, while it is by technicality boxed in, there's so much space to move around that it doesn't matter in the slightest. And Meteor Herds is also a highlight in this regard. Could have used maybe a couple of extra rockets, hence for fast travel here and there, but it is just so, euphoric to have that much space to maneuver around in. Though, of course, the, vertical design probably would have benefited from being able to detect multiple shards at once. I feel where treasure hunting tends to go down a peg is when the levels do genuinely get a bit more boxed in, like bordering on claustrophobic. Like Aquatic Mine is one example of this, combined with the whole water raising thing, which don't know why they bothered to make that when the water temple from Ocarina of Time was infamous because, well, partially because of the whole having to constantly shift the water levels. But, the more boxed in and claustrophobic halls made it a lot more difficult to navigate and remember where everything was. And unless you fought to get the air necklace, which is by all means an optional upgrade, you probably will take a good while in Aquatic Mine for reasons that sometimes don't even feel like your fault. And there's even one shot in particular that feels impossible to get unless you think to use the uppercut. But, Death Chamber also is a maze and a half that because of its more hallway claustrophobic design, feels like it just doesn't work with the treasure in the gameplay, which, as I said before, is better with a more open-ended kind of freedom. Egg Corners is the only treasure hunting level that's more boxed in, and I don't feel is super annoying, but it's still not the best. So if we did talk about one of the worst treasure hunting stages, the one that subverts this whole trend is Mad Space, because that one's technically more open. You've got a lot more space to fly around. You also gotta deal with a shitty anti-gravity gimmick that really does hammer in and how much you gotta, find rockets to escape the gravity pull of each of the planetoids. And that level also messes with the hint system by either having the hints be in reverse or be the opposite of what they actually mean, which, unless you think to touch Omochao, and a very specific Omochao at that, you're not gonna find out that that's the gimmick for the hints in that level. Rouge's treasure hunting stages went out on a sour note, compared to Knuckles, who at least got to end out on a good note.
I think... Sorry. Are you fucking kidding me, Weather? Holy shit.
Is that thunder?
Yes, that was thunder. It is
Crazy.
Thunder, rain, and lightning.
It actually just started.
Nice. I wish
An hour into this. But,
this could possibly end badly, but you know what? We can power through this.
hey, I got a sickness last time we did a recording, okay?
That's hype.
But, so I think the problem with treasure hunting in SA1, I feel like you said, Protector, they're just Sonic stage. It was just Knuckles plopped to a fucking Sonic stage.
Yeah, that was a general issue with the alternate gameplay styles that was in SA1 across the board. Funnily enough, the only one to completely subvert that was Amy, who had a lot more, dedicated original level segments, or in the case of Hot Shelter, just having the vast majority of the level be unique to her.
What do you mean? Big got his own areas as well, aside from Twinkle Park.
I mean, to be honest, as in Big's case, it wasn't really much other than having more spots to fish in, which didn't really matter.
But, yeah, Knuckles plopped into Sonic's levels, and the hit system wasn't an awful idea in SA1, It's just that it made it way too easy, plus Tikal being there as well.
I mean, to be honest, that's kind of the problem. It made the whole thing way too easy. Like, if you're gonna have this glowing bulb, I'll basically tell you where the shard is, that defeats the point of it being an explorative-based gameplay style.
But I do agree that the radar in this game should have had like be able to see where they all were.
Yeah.
While also having like
Yeah, and there is a mod on PC that tweaks that. Though I do wonder how the hint system was adjusted. It's like I said before, like the hint system in SA2, it does actually work like decently well for what it is. Like, it's a genuine hint system at that. Like, vague hint, something more specific, and then just kind of flat out telling you where it is if you're really stuck. And, unless you are that kind of person that feels offended at getting anything less than the highest rank on your first run, you shouldn't really be too concerned about using the hence knocking down your score bonus. I mean, hell, in quite a few treasure hunting stages, it is still entirely possible to use like 1 or 2 hints and still get the A rank with room to spare. So it's not really a problem. It's like I said before, this could have been improved by having the whole being able to detect all the shards, but have various monitors be marked with what shard they correspond to, but with the same, tier system that the hints in SA2 have, as is.
But in terms of, I do think the controls are better, obviously. Fuck. But in terms of, I don't feel that, like, yeah, the claustrophobic thing is there, but I don't feel it for Aquatic Mine that much, because with Death Chambers and Egg Quarters, like, it feels very linear, because, like, there's, like, only, like, 3, it's, like, a fucking circle. Or, like, with Aquatic Mine, there's actually, like, caverns you have to go through to, like, try to find the emerald shards.
I just feel like, far more open spaces are just, literally so much better for this kind of thing. To reference a future 3D Sonic game, I do feel that, Rouge's section Shadows Kingdom Valley was a good example of how a more open space can help the treasure hunting gameplay. It's just that, for various reasons, it didn't quite land there, but we can get to that.
We can get to it. In that podcast, we can talk about PO6. Okay.
I think we can save PO6 for its own podcast, because it's kind of a different game entirely, but enough about trying to decide on our future projects. What were you trying to say about the treasure hunting stages again?
You just finished off by talking about Aquatic Mine not feeling that claustrophobic, I feel. In terms of stages, yes, the first Rouge and Knuckles 1, yes, Boxin, etc. Like, good first timer treasure hunting stage, because they're not too big to be overwhelmed, but not too small to be too easy, I feel.
Yeah, they got enough open space to, make it work and give you a better idea as to what you're in for.
Pumpkin Hill is probably my favorite, but that comes to no shock, because Pumpkin Hill is, like, literally perfect.
Yo, let's go.
Pumpkin Hill is, like, the fan favorite when it comes to treasure hunting stages. Meteor Herd can be a little more divisive, but that's also generally considered to be one of the better ones. Yeah.
Well, I also really like Aquatic Mine almost as much as Pumpkin Hill. I just like making that, it's like that perfect run where I just get all the shards in less than a minute. It's like, oh, it feels so good.
Honestly,
clearly, Lady Luck's been more generous to you.
Hey, I told you on my recent podcast.
Look, I'm gonna be real. I don't think Knuckles stage being cramped or claustrophobic is a bad thing. I think I actually quite enjoy the like variety we get with it.
But Death Chambers is definitely my least favorite Knuckles stage, but it's not bad. Just a little too linear, I feel. Like, you just go around in a circle and you get all the emerald shards easy peasy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Meteor Herd I actually really like. because like I could just because like to get all the shards, I just go up like all the way up and just get them with the if the radar's going out, and then if like there's one left, just dive all the way down till I find it.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah, like there's no greater feeling outside of A ranking Final Rush in the most badass way possible, but that goes without saying.
Headquarters, same problem as Death Chambers, but less. Actually, more. It's actually probably more linear than Death Chambers.
I mean, to be honest, that's actually probably for the best, because what made Death Chamber such a pain in the anus was because it was genuinely much more of a maze, whereas, you know, Headquarters just kept things a little more straightforward.
Yeah. A security hall, I don't like the part. I don't like how you have to like hit switches to like open certain doors, or like have the ability to open certain doors. I think that's kind of it doesn't feel right in a treasure hunting level, I feel. But other than that, I like security hall. Fuck Mad Space. That shit can go.
Mad Space will make you mad, all right?
I feel like Mad Space actually came out of Satan's asshole just to taunt us.
I mean, to be honest, you know, they should have waited until 2007 to do the whole you know, artificial gravity planetoid sort of thing. Like, come on, Mario Galaxy, this saying.
You're comparing Sonic Adventure to the Peak? What is wrong with you?
Oh, so what you're saying is that
no, kids, you're not here. No, kids.
Listen,
I do not want to get I don't want to get a vein popping out of my forehead. Okay.
Sonic Adventure 2 is
Look,
better
I
than
said
both of the
Mario
Galaxy
Galaxy, this ain't. You know, in reference to Mad Space fucking up a concept that Galaxy made as its whole gimmick and made it work.
Yeah.
Kibbs, we're gonna save me popping a vein for when we get to that.
Alright.
But in terms of A ranks, I think that the only ones that are hard to get in treasure hunting are 100 rings, because you have to like plan out where each ring. You have to find out.
I think.
You have to, like,
wait,
plan
weren't we
it out,
going
basically.
to save the whole alternate mission theme for later?
True. But A ranking, well, sure. But like just A ranking them regularly, it's not that bad. If you can like get away with like a hit or two and still get the A rank.
As I've said before.
But
I mean,
no,
hell, sometimes the A ranks can be pretty generous. As long as you're doing a competent enough run, it's not impossible to get an A ranking and Meteor Herd on a consistent basis.
Yeah, the only A rank I hate to get is Mad Space for obvious fucking reasons.
I mean, to be honest, Mad Space just kind of drove me off the wall when it came to A ranks, so you are absolutely not alone there.
So, Kibbs, do you have any particular takes with these treasure hunting stickers?
No, I think they're like all good, except Mad Space is a little really bad. But no, like Wild Canyon is a really good introduction. Same with Dry Lagoon.
Wild Canyon has you chasing a bat, huh? Yeah, Rouge,
Yeah.
she's sexy.
I like Pumpkin Hill, of course, is like peak. I absolutely love that stage. Aquatic Mine I enjoyed. Death Chamber was like one of my favorites as a kid. I don't know what it was about that one, but it really stood out to me.
I think it's
Weird.
probably because its theme song, Deeper, has one point where Hunted P, and he says, "You're damn right, Knuckles."
Yeah.
Actually, that was only on Dreamcast. They cut that bit out in GameCube.
The GameCube kids wouldn't understand.
I would
GameCube
say that
kids also didn't get all the various big cameos in the stages.
I would say that the Rouge stages are just generally weaker. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's much of a
Dry
surprise.
Lagoon and Security Hall were, you know, the good ones. And oh yeah, on a note of Dry Lagoon, its theme song, Bright Sound, somehow made it into the jukebox for Sonic Frontiers.
What the fuck?
Fair enough, I guess.
Rouge's theme over. Wait, is Pumpkin Hill in there?
I mean, to be honest, Bright Sound does actually kind of lend itself well to some of the open zone environments.
is Pumpkin Hill in there?
No, a ghost pumpkin soup is not in there. Your only other options are like live and learn, escape from the city, and I think Green Forest has theme, that being won't stop, just go.
Frontiers is bad, 0 out of 10, would not recommend.
Yeah, I agree. Not even because of the music. It's just
we'll get to it in like 10 years. When that game's like fucking
But
awful.
yeah, I think that treasure hunting thing is pretty good in SA2, though could have used some fixes like, the radar is definitely the only thing on a pure gameplay level they absolutely needed to, tweak a bit. But beyond that, it's just that it's got a couple more duds in the level department and the speed stages, which only really have Crazy Gadget, and even that one's at the very least alright.
Yeah, I just it's at the point where like I kind of, the more I go older, the more I'm like I have like the treasure hunting on par with the speed stages of SA2.
Ooh,
Yeah.
no, that's
that's
fair.
something that's something you don't hear every day, but
I'm pretty up there myself.
I get it.
as well.
And now we can talk about the worst part of the fucking game, the mech stages. I want to get
if you
everything
haven't
out
gone
here.
to the Chao Garden yet, hold
I
your
have
fucking horses.
tinnitus.
Do we really want to talk about the Chao Garden before fucking gingivitis?
What?
I mean, look, the Chao Garden's the worst part of the game when it comes to her full completion, which is why I decided to make the joke. I do not want to have to explain my jokes, otherwise I'm going to be sent out of building by Joker. Anyways, beyond the random BTAS reference, as when it comes to the mech stages, I think they're at the very least alright. I know a lot of people really don't like that Tails and Eggman's mechs are heavier compared to Gamma, who is, naturally a bit, quicker on the draw, but
It's not a problem
it's
that
not-
they're heavier.
it's not really a problem that, they're a bit heavier and take a bit of a while to turn. Hell, the moment you get the hover, these issues just kind of, fall away in the background. And then it becomes pretty damn satisfying to hover over large gaps and chain together large enemy kills to get a perfect point bonus. Maximum of 10 or 11 lock-ons. If you go any higher than that, you're just wasting potential enemy chains. And that being able to chain those kills and get absurdly high scores as for the various levels, it's where the mech gameplay is at its peak, which is also why I would consider the likes of Weapons Bed and Cosmic Wall to be the best levels for the mech gameplay. Probably not, they're both from Eggman, though I am a decent fan of the likes of Mission Street and Hidden Base for Tails. Prison Lane just it's a fine introductory level, but it is rather linear to a fault with no real opportunity to, cut through because you don't have to hover yet. And I'm also irritated at the fact that you have to go for the entire level again once you gain the ability to break iron crates. It's just to get an upgrade that makes the explosions of your shots bigger. And I'm also not really as big on the internal engine as the other two Tails levels I liked, because it was the introduction of the artificial chaos. And they can go kill themselves. Now.
This is gonna take a while. I used to like the mech stages back in 2016. I don't.
Oh, this is where it gets
I don't
good.
like them anymore. I fucking despise them. I don't. If this is the controls they're gonna choose for the mech stages, I want them to burn the mech stages right in front of a crowd of SA2 fans right now. I don't. It's not the problem that they're slow. It's just that it's so fucking stiff. Like holy shit. Even using the boosters to glide over the place, it's so stiff to turn. I hate it. Also, like, sometimes you just don't target onto the enemies, even if the laser is, like, literally right in front of them, point blank, and it's annoying. Oh my fucking god. And also, the
lock-ons weren't nearly as much of an issue. So in my case, although maybe it's because I played so much SA2 and decided to fully A-rank it and then replay a bunch of stages over and over, because, God forbid, I can remove myself from SA2 and Unleashed for long enough.
Mm-hmm. I might have...
Someone managed to do that for like a month and a half straight, just to get the Platinum trophies to the Bound Earth Legacy Collection, but yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, what I thought of Eggman's levels. Well, like, Iron Gate, it's also an alright introductory level. It does get some possible home means of speeding a run up once you get the hover, as you can just jump down on the elevator shafts and then hover to lock on to the barrier. Locks and then shoot them off and then just fly in without having to wait for the elevator to get down. And there, that's fun. Sand Ocean's a decent platforming level on the first run, and really, goes high into the, shortcut and speed running kind of thing the moment you get the hover, because it's basically a completely different level at that point, but it's, it's pretty damn fun. Fuck, what was Eggman's first level on the arc called? Lost Colony. Yes. Lost Colony, that was the one. And that one's alright. Thanks to, Weapons Bed, Sand Ocean, and Cosmic Wall are peak, with Hidden Base right behind them. And I've got a soft spot for Mission Street too.
Also, the blind spots, like, holy shit.
Okay, that is something that is a genuine problem at times, more so with Tails, because, well, we failed to bring this up until now. SA2 originally didn't have the whole hero versus dark kind of thematic angle. Like, it used to just be a game where Sonic, Knuckles, and Eggman were playable, evident by the fact that they have the most stages of their respective gameplay styles, and get exclusive upgrades. Like Sonic's Bounce Bracelet and Magic Hands, Knuckles' Air Necklace, and Eggman's Protective Armor. Tails, Shadow, and Rouge obviously get less by comparison.
But, like, the blind sides are so fucking annoying. And with and we'll get to it when we talk about missions, but it could be a killer, a rank killer. I also find, like, the camera is not helpful, and like those black bricks that can drop down, the camera doesn't really help you, like, look up to see where they are, and shadows can be a little misleading as times at the distance from the ground to the floor. And also in Mission Street, holy shit, fuck that level.
Means you want to, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about these levels before I blow a fucking gasket. Fuck Prison Lane, okay, terrible blind sides. Fuck Mission Street. Do we want to talk about the cars? Do we want to talk about the car level?
We can save that for just after we're done with the mechs.
Did we just say they're bad and move on from them?
Well, they are crucial to the A rank discussion, though, so we can't. What was the fucking Tails pyramid level called? Pyramid?
Hidden Base.
Hidden Base?
That gun would never find inside Eggman's pyramid.
Hidden Base is the best Tails level. It's still fucking okay. Fuck Eternal Engine. What was the first Eggman one called? It was like
Iron Gate.
Iron Gate is fine.
Sand Ocean.
Oh yeah, Sand Ocean is fine as well. It's better with the booster. Not Weapons Bed. Lost Colony is good. I like Weapons Bed. I fucking adore Cosmic Wall, if I'm gonna be honest. Let's go.
That really is the favorite. It's because of the lighter gravity giving you ludicrous amounts of airtime compared with the booster.
Also, chaining everything in the on-rails section, you get like 100,000 points. It's like gamer god moment. But other than that, fuck the mech stages. I would literally put them up Satan's asshole and then put dynamite in that thing.
To be fair on Satan, like, it's not his fault he's got to deal with the souls that are damned on a daily basis and has likely he been dealing with hell being, you know, overstuffed with souls.
Also,
like,
we gotta talk about the
the man's
boss. Also, after this, we gotta talk about the bosses, because next stages also have the worst bosses.
I mean, you know, actually, let's just, you know, cut... Oh, wait. Kibbs hasn't given his thoughts on the making stages yet. We want to, you know... Huh?
So, I'm gonna be real. I really like the mech stages.
I am going to.
I have a great time with them. Maybe I've just been Stockholm syndromed into it, or maybe it's because I didn't go for I didn't ever go for A ranks. But
no. Thing, you don't have Stockholm syndrome. SA2 is, you know, non-abusive family member or some jackass from high school or whatever. It's your best friend.
I just like most of the mech stages, I think, because like Prison Lane might be like one of the weaker ones, but that's just because it's kind of the beginning. I like Mission Street. Let's see, Hidden Base I really like. Eternal Engine I really like.
Oh, that's a new one.
What Eternal Engine?
Yes.
Yeah, that tends to be on the lower end for many.
I don't know. I just like across the board have a blast with the mech stages. I'm like looking at a list right now just to make sure I'm not missing anything, and I'm like, yeah, these all kind of slap. I don't know. I just really like flying around shooting things. I hate that it gives me tinnitus because it's just that constant just beeping. But like I kind of like the slower pace and just kind of like looking around, finding stuff, blowing things up, getting combos.
That's why I like the Eggman stages more, because they have more of that, like weapons.
Yeah.
As well.
No, they definitely do. And so like it's just fun. It's just like, to me, it's solid fun. It's a good pace breaker because I always you have to slow down. A lot of people will focus on that as like a bad thing, but I think it's nice to just like take a break sometimes from high speed, like the high speed stages, and like just flying around, finding stuff.
Adrenaline boost in of themselves because of, you know, all the various, you know, lock-on chains you can have and watching everything go up in flames. You know, treasure hunting is where things are supposed to be a bit more lax.
I don't mind a game, like a Sonic game, being more so plays. Like, I'm probably one of the few people who actually like Sonic 1 over Sonic 2 because Sonic 2 is too fast. But if it's implemented well, I will accept it. If it's not implemented well, like these next stages, I am not going to accept it.
There are definitely some issues with it, like the lock-on that you guys are talking about. It just like can be a little silly, but I don't have too many issues. I wish that you got the hover like sooner than you do. But...
Yeah.
In fact, the hover probably should have been a default part of the moveset because, you know, otherwise the mechs are about as simple as jump, shoot, and a melee attack if something's up close.
Yeah.
You know, like Tails' boxing glove and Eggman's Ole.
I think the mech stages are very fun. I totally get why people absolutely hate them, but I can't burn myself. I can't bring myself to say that they're bad.
I thought you said you can't burn yourself.
Can't burn myself, yeah.
I mean, I burned myself.
I don't know, you can probably cook up a Sith roast eventually.
Yeah. Sith roast decaf. But,
anyways,
let's talk about the bosses.
Kart racing.
It's bad. Next section.
Just right now,
Oh yeah.
The kart
rank
race
is bad too.
Neat little side mode. For some reason, got a couple of stages, you know, and if you get all the emblems for a specific character stages, you can unlock alternate karts with different stats. Or in Rouge's case, you can unlock the Egg Robo model from Sonic R as a playable character. And that's it. Also, it's got this weird thing with the drift where you have to basically, you know, briefly let go of the accelerate button and then press it again, and then and watch as Tails and Rouge in her penis car are drift harder than a Joy-Con.
Wait a minute. Rouge. I don't remember what her car looks like. Hold on. I'm looking this up. Okay. Sonic Adventure 2. Rouge. I have to specify car just to be negative. Looking up Rouge. Oh my goodness. It really is peanut.
I've successfully ruined Route 280 for Kibbs.
Oh yeah, that's the deal breaker for Route 280, yeah.
And editor me in the future, make sure you title this chapter of the podcast Hooker Rouge.
Oh no, I scrolled too far down in the imaging. I've closed Chrome probably for the rest of my life.
No, you gotta delete your search history, bro.
No, it's fine. I'll just if my wife for some reason says, "Hey, let me look at your search history," she'll see that and be like, "Why did you look up Rouge the Bat Car Sonic Adventure?" It's the penis car.
Yeah, just play into this podcast. It'll give her all the context she needs.
Yeah, I'll put a picture up on screen. I need a cigarette. Holy shit.
Oh my
No, you don't. Cigarettes are bad for your breathing.
Fine, I'll get an e-cig.
No,
That's also not really good because it still has the same addictive substance.
I'll just get organic. Fine, I'll just sniff organic essential oils.
Just go get a nice cold can of Dr. Pepper.
Bro, soda fucking sucks. What are you talking about?
You're right, but I just think it's.
I'll just grab a Powerade after this session.
Yeah, let's go Powerade.
Let's talk. Okay, so I think we don't have anything else to say on car section after that whole penis car thing.
I mean, you know, I did the fact that you can play as the Egg Robo model from Sonic R as you get all A ranks and Rouges. There's nothing to really note. It's a fun little distraction in multiplayer, but we can save that for later.
So let's talk about bosses then.
Okay, so Dane is out the way right now. The best ones are King Boom Boo because of the skill-based side of things that can allow you to potentially 2 or even 1 cycle on that end. Sonic's Egg Golem is pretty damn fun too. It's pretty much where we get the guitar mix of Masters of the Desert, and the song is freaking amazing. On top of that, it being a pretty cool design thing as well. And being able to consistently get behind him at a moment's notice and have the fight go by so quickly is pretty cool. And also the second Sonic vs. Shadow fight, right? Now that one is pretty cool. You know, starts out as a simple map, either of spin dashing into the other hedgehog or homing attacking them, but then that becomes a matter of having to actually bait them into leaving themselves vulnerable as they perform like either Sonic Wind, and yes, Sonic has his own projectile attack. But of the wind element, this doesn't really come up too much in the future outside of Sonic's Promotion Adventures. And of course, you know, that fight was also the debut of Shadow's Chaos Spear. And the same game we got Chaos Control. Would you believe that only took until Shadow the Hedgehog's own game for us to get the final main Chaos ability, Chaos Blast? Anyways, you know, those are really good fights, but everything else, the gun mechs are kind of piss easy, especially Bigfoot if you're coming back with all of Sonic's upgrades, because then you can just use the bounce attack and trim the fight down so damn much it doesn't even feel fun anymore. Sonic vs. Shadow is piss easy no matter how you slice it, though it gets even easier on a repeat playthrough with Sonic. I think if you've got the bounce bracelet, then you can just basketball Shadow to death.
What the fuck was that?
And accidentally, I stepped on one of the dog's squeaking toys that they left in here for whatever reason. Anyways, the other character fights, on the other hand, kind of ass, because Knuckles vs. Rouge can be annoying unless you get into a rhythm of quickly alternating between jump and attack to dive down like basically you're ramming yourself right into Rouge or Knuckles. Oh, whatever boats you float. But Tails' Eggman is where the boss fights really go down a peg. Like, first round, it's pissed easy. No seeing a pattern here. The second round, bit of a toss of the dice as to whether or not you're actually gonna win. And also just jumping ahead to the last story in the guard, Fire Lizard is peak. Final Hazard is good for spectacle. Yeah, Final Hazard is good for spectacle, but it can be a little annoying trying homing attack onto the zits. Also, those lasers are assholes.
I was gonna say this, but like saying ram into Rouge or Knuckles, audience, don't take that out of context, please.
Whoa!
We don't need deviant art. We do not need deviant art links in our comment section.
I mean, deviant art is kind of irrelevant in this day and age.
Whatever
art from this,
I already
we don't live in a day and age where Newgrounds and deviant art were coming red to the internet. We now live in a day and age where it's just Twitter and Reddit, just general cesspools of hatred and lies.
And those two are dying.
Good. Retweet to make them die faster.
Yay!
Hold on. Hold on, no.
Yeah, everyone's making like the switch to threads.
I give it a few days before they go back to Twitter.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
The problem is with threads, like even if they did die, it's on the phone only. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's bad because at least you don't have to be exposed to the entire world.
Yeah. But in terms of bosses, Sonic vs. Shadow, Final Fight, Peak. That's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite boss in Sonic Adventure 2 in entirely.
It's pretty good.
I don't like King Boom Boo that much.
Why?
Did you know that Sonic Adventure 2 came out the same year as Luigi's Mansion, where King Boo was made into an actual character and the main antagonist, and now we've got Sonic Adventure 2 that came out before then that had a King Boom Boo. Totally different. Well, actually, on that note, the general ghost enemies in some of the levels in SA2 are literally called Boos. The pesky plumber should sue.
But the idea of King Boo... Well, didn't Sonic 2 come out before Luigi's Mansion?
Boos have been a theme since, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Oh, yeah.
And there is enemy type in SA2 literally called that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Fuck. But I don't like King Boom Boo.
You're trying to see why you didn't like King Boom Boo's fight.
Yeah, I don't like it that much, because the phase where you expose him to the outdoors, the gamer's worst enemy, But that phase,
yeah.
I like that.
You enough, the outdoors only becomes a problem when there's a harsh enough sunlight.
Or terrible rain. But
you can just wear something with a hood.
Or just be me, or just be me and take out two things: soap and shampoo.
What?
And you told...
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Okay, audience.
Outside shower.
Knuckles and Rouge shit out of context all you want. Don't take this one out of context. Genuinely, I'm being.
Make sure to shower, gamers.
Indoors.
Yes, yeah, indoors.
Shower indoors, please. PSA, I guess.
But the phase where you have to avoid his fire and trying to eat you, it's just way too slow for my liking.
It goes on even longer if you end up going into the inner circle of the arena, because that means you actually catch up with him way too quickly, and then he's just gonna turn around. You have to, keep Knuckles running on the outer rim, which, by the way, it also creates the funny image of seeing Knuckles with all his accessories just swinging his arms back and forward at literal Sonic speeds, and he's literally running for his life, and it's hilarious like that. I know I said that Meteor Herd was probably going to be the first time you would see Knuckles really go fast if you were exploring on the ground level. No, King Boom Boo is where you're going to see that Echidna can really move.
He be zooming and they hating him.
Because of the zoomer, confirmed.
he likes his Arizona iced tea with his TikTok.
I mean, if the Arizona iced tea was grape flavored, he probably would like it.
No, he's gonna drink fucking Sonic G Fuel.
No, he wouldn't. He would find that shit disgusting.
The Sonic G Fuel.
Which one have you tried? Have you tried it?
So I had
unless it's a Sonic G Fuel flavor with grapes in it, you're not gonna get Knuckles to like it even remotely.
I got the energy drink.
Oh,
G
peach.
Fuel.
The peach
I got
flavor.
the peach ring one. I tried it like a year ago and was like, this is the nastiest thing I have ever had in my life.
They're the
To
fucking
be
chili
honest,
dog.
some energy drinks in general. In fact, the only
true.
energy drinks that I would say taste alright at the very least would be Lucozade.
I had it again recently, like a month ago, and was like, this isn't that bad, but I feel like I'm getting a stomach ulcer.
It's probably because the drink's actually increasing the acidity of your stomach acid.
Yeah, probably.
There's also a chili dog flavor one.
Kill me.
What?
there's like this one where like it's G Fuel powder and it's chili dog flavor.
Chili dog protein shake. Let's go.
Oh, no.
I don't even like. chili dog.
Anyways, on the note of boss fights,
The Grimace shake.
It's a boss fight for your body, bro.
Bro, I tried that shit. I tried that shit on 4th of July. Not that bad.
It's pretty good. I've heard it's
It
pretty
is.
good. I think Max said it was good too.
It's literally just a blueberry milkshake, basically.
Yeah, no. I would try it, but I don't like milkshakes.
We're gonna have a discussion after this podcast session.
I'm so sorry.
I
But
think we're having plenty of food discussions on the podcast as
we're gonna
is.
continue food. We should just make a podcast session over like terrible food takes.
Terrible food takes. All right, would you guys eat the
Cheese is
egg
the best
golem?
cheese.
Okay, so a Sonic vs Shadow Peak. Don't like King Boom Boo.
What?
I like the Egg Golem a lot.
Yeah,
That was
egg
pretty fun.
golem's, egg golem's sick.
What else was there that I liked?
Hey, Lizard.
We'll do.
Yes, I do like the Bi-Lizard. Final Hazard, not as much, but he's still pretty fun. I feel like I'm missing one.
I mean, honestly, those are kind of the notable ones. There's a couple like the robots that you can fight, like the flying
there's
dog and
fucking,
Hot
like,
Shot.
the G.I. Joe looking
Bigfoot.
at robots.
Yeah, they're not really notable.
Max, you know, Bigfoot, Hot Shot, Flying Dog.
Yeah, like they're okay, they're fine. Like they're robot fights.
Bigfoot and Hot Shot are basically the same fucking thing. I imagine the only reason why they have different names is because of the whole military code name bullshit. Flying Dog is the only one that's even remotely interesting because you're playing as Rouge and the thing has no feet.
Yeah.
But other than that, I hate
Rouge
every other.
its feet.
Yeah. I generally agree. I think most of the bosses are actually kind of forgettable, but like, you know, obviously the final boss, like that whole sequence is peak. Egg Golem is peak. King Boom Boo is really funny to me. I always thought he looked goofy, but once I was playing the game and I was fighting King Boom Boo, and my grandparents walked into the room and they were just talking to me like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm playing Sonic Adventure 2." And I was like, "Yeah, I already did the evil story," and they just like looked at me like I just said something terrible, and I was like, "Yeah, I did the evil story. It was very fun." And then they went and talked to my mom. And my mom had to explain Sonic
Kinds of
Adventure 2.
grandparents.
My mom had to explain Sonic Adventure 2 to my grandparents and be like, "No, it's okay because it's just Sonic."
I mean, it's not as bad as my dad.
I'm gonna be
grounding
real,
me.
grandparents legitimately thought that playing Sonic Adventure 2 would increase worldwide terrorist activities, which would lead to Sonic the Hedgehog being arrested, then maybe a retirement home is in order?
No. Wait till they figure out what Fortnite is.
No, it's just because I said it was the evil story, and then I said it was fun.
Here's the thing, though. You were just being honest, because dark side literally is just the evil side of things, because, Eggman's the ringleader of the operation. You do some terrorist attacks, like, you blow up an island, which would accumulate a massive body count. You cripple a military's naval fleet as means of a distraction for the aforementioned island bombing. You blow up a moon in half, and, the Grandmaster plan is to get all the Chaos Ones so that Eggman has the ability to just blow up planets as a means of holding leverage over the world.
But sadly, Eggman doesn't have some of the alternative accounts.
We are not talking about that.
Anyways, the rest of the box
if you want to do
mid.
Podcast, look, if you want to do a podcast on the Snapcube fan dubs one of these days, then, you do you. I might even join you for that. But, let's try to keep that separate from the discussion of regular SA2, because, those two projects are completely different beasts.
Okay, so I think that's it with bosses and terrible food opinions. What else is there? We can talk about the Chao Garden.
The Chao Garden, it's been expanded substantially. All the additions are really good. It's nice that there's a morale system where, a Chao will lean towards hero or dark, depending on which character you're using to take care of it. Or alternatively, if you feel like being kind of absolute most vile scum on the planet, you can abuse a Chao with a specific character and it'll switch to the other alignment. And the best way to do this fast is to have Sonic Bounce Bracelet them. And as you do this, I will come into your house, I'll delete your Sonic Adventure 2 fully completed save file if it ever involves that kind of Chao abuse, and I will make you feel unsafe while I consume your Doritos and call you a bitch.
I don't like Doritos.
That said, it is still the same tedious grind as it was in SA1 if you're going for all emblems, and I know for a fact I said this in the one podcast, but I'll say it again. I would like the Chao Garden so much more if it wasn't mandatory for anything besides kicking back and relaxing, because the fact that 9 out of the 180 emblems are tied to it, and it's, partially because of the new Chao races that do have some nice, quality of life changes to make them better than they were in SA1, alongside the new Chao Karate, where the Chao will learn that the answer lies in the heart of battle. You still gotta go through all that grind just for the sake of getting those emblems. Like, it's the reason why I haven't unlocked Green Hill yet, despite getting all the A ranks things in SA2, which takes a lot more skill than having to put a bunch of chaos drives, animals, and fruit in front of the Chao and watch them do things. Also, it should be mentioned that SA2 was also the debut of the Black Market for the Chao Garden, which contains a bunch of items like extra eggs, accessories, fruit, and character themes for the menus in SA2. If you get enough emblems everywhere else, namely for the likes of Amy, Oma Chao, and Maria. But, and there's also a bunch of other faculties you can use in the Chao kindergarten area to help with raising Chao, so it's not as guide heavy as it was in SA1, but yeah, no, this just ain't doing it for me, Chief. And I can see why the Chao Garden didn't really come back in future Sonic games the way it was in SA1 and 2, because I guess Sonic Team would have found a way to make it mandatory for full completion. And the only time it ever came back actually was in Sonic Chronicles and Sonic Jump Fever, and it was completely different in both.
I like the Chao Garden in S2.
I love it.
It's just so calm and relaxing, and I'll make sure Brenda gets the care she needs.
Oh my goodness.
That's good.
And I just like making my Chao as buff as possible, and just see it basically hold a middle finger while kicking another Chao in the balls in karate.
So it's so funny. It's so funny watching them beat each other up.
Yeah. Wait, can you name your
Oh, and by the way, there's also the fact that because of the whole alignment thing that they have, you can unlock, 2 other Chao Gardens, which, mind you, SA1 had it so that you didn't need to raise Chao to be a specific, thing or whatever, just to unlock the other gardens. But you basically get 2 other gardens that are themed around heaven and hell.
Yeah, I have two brothers that I have like 4 brothers, but what matters is I lived with these 2 brothers specifically because we're the closest in age, and we basically were like, everybody gets 1 garden, and I just got the leftover one. Even though I loved the game the most. It was my favorite game. I loved it, but they're like, well, Robert wants the heaven one, and Donovan wants just a regular one. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just be down here alone.
Yeah.
Now you're
Hey, Kibbs. It's all because they think you're a Satanist.
It's funny because I am like I'm the only religious one of the 3 of us.
How ironic fate can be.
It's just so funny.
You were the least favorite sibling.
Yeah, that's it. No, I was also just pretty indifferent to it. It was just my brother really insisted that he got the heaven one, and then my little brother was like, the other one's too scary, and I was like, okay.
Oh, come on, he needs to grow a spine.
Okay, listen, the movie Cat in the Hat scared him.
Hills, and, look. If he's that concerned about the blood water in the dark Chao Garden, just tell him it's strawberry juice.
It's strawberry.
Just tell him it's cool. Yeah. Just tell him it's Kool-Aid.
And the skulls are just it's just rock candy, bro.
Rock candy.
But yeah,
just like Starbits from Mario Galaxy. That's twice that game's come up in conversation in this podcast.
And the gratitude crystals from Skyward Sword.
Woo.
Skyward Sword, the same enthusiasm as someone hearing that E3 is back.
Anyways, was there anything else the 2 of you have to say about the Chao Garden?
I think it is very fun, and I spent a lot of time in it.
Same, yeah.
But Sorry?
I've noticed that most of if just a gender divide with the Chao Garden I see most of the time, or mostly girls like the Chao Garden and boys mostly don't. That's how I feel.
A lot of those boys are also probably going for full completion, and that's where the Chao Garden does show an uglier side to it.
I just like the Chao Garden. I actually I have Sonic Advance in the Game Boy. The tiny Chao Garden in Advance 1, Pinball Party, and made into an unlockable in Advance 2 that requires you to get all the emeralds as either 1 or 2 characters. Yeah, I would send all my
which is bullshit, by the way, but I think from the sound of it, we've kind of, exhausted the whole Chao Garden thing.
No, I got
obviously, it's still going to open the whole Dreamcast VMU Game Boy Advance, transfer method where you could take care of your Chao on a go, like with the Dreamcast VMU and, any of the games that feature the tiny Chao Garden, except Advance 2, because you had to unlock that one, and I highly doubt that most kids that would have had both that and Adventure 2 would have actually gotten all the Chaos Emeralds as enough characters as it needed to unlock the tiny Chao Garden. Why it wasn't available by default in Advance 2 is beyond my high level of mortal comprehension, but that's besides the point.
I even before I had Sonic Advance, I would send my Chaos to the Game Boy, because you could do it without the cartridge.
Oh yeah, I do remember seeing on Sonic Retro that the tiny Chao Garden was something that could actually, function on its own. But
yeah.
I think it probably was safer to have a dedicated game that had the tiny Chao Garden as a mode.
Yeah, it definitely was, but that didn't stop me from literally every day. In elementary school, just bringing a Chao with me and grinding for rings, Like it was so much fun. I loved it. I love.
I mean, I guess the tiny Chao Garden and the
ring.
ring mini games would have been perfect for those, you know,
Yeah, just sitting at lunch or whatever.
for recess.
Yeah.
Guys, this is my Chao. Golurk the Killer. He will kill all y'all in Chao Karate.
Look, as in named after the Ghost Ground Golem Pokemon from Gen
No.
5.
Probably. I don't know.
I don't even.
random game.
I was like terrible at naming all my chows. I just let them.
To be honest, I'm not the best either. Like, the only one I remember, you know, putting some thought of effort into was naming my gold Chao on SADX PS3 is Zack, after Zack Fair from Final Fantasy VII. And that was it.
I think we can talk about the extra missions, and then I blabber on about Green Hill. Then we could talk about the cutscenes. And speaking of cutscenes,
I think we could also, you know, put some time aside to talk about the visuals. Those around the same time we talk about the cutscenes. We are just kind of winging it right now, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah, we're nearly at 2 hours of recording.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so the extra missions. There are 4 extra missions in these games. 100 rings, the Lost Chao, timer mode, as I call it, and hard mode. I think my least favorite is the timer
for
mode.
those part that's, and you could always have those curveballs, namely in the, you know, kart racing levels where the 3rd and 4th missions instead amount to don't hit the cars, don't hit the walls, and if you touch either, you will be erased from existence.
I just call those modes LA traffic.
So, you know, just getting this out of the way, the extra missions in Route 101 and Route 280 are just pain in the ass, not always that fun. And God forbid in the missions where you have to avoid touching cars, that you get into a really narrow hallway with one right in front of you. You better pray that there isn't one right behind you either, because if there is, a possible dead game. Or dead run, rather.
Yeah.
But, you know, for everything else, you know, it's just like this. You know, for me, it's 100 rings, really fun in speed stages, bit tedious in the try-harding stages, because you really gotta comb all over. Or, you know, you can also just be a cheating dumbass like me. Hey, no actual shame to those that do this. As, you know, I'm just, you know, taking the piss right now. You know, some would rather just grab one ring, take a hit, and have her restart gold ring respawn, so that once they collect enough rings, they can just hit that, and then, you know, find those rings respawn, and, you know, there's that. With the mech stages, could be a roll of the dice as to whether not a particular stage is generous with rings, or, you know, kind of harsh with enemy placement. And Lost Chao, the Lost Chao stuff does actually, you know, require you to look around the levels on occasion for the, you know, Lost World style shrines. And by Lost World style, I mean the level from SA1 and not the Mario ripoff on Wii U. You need a Mystic Melody to activate those, and just like the whole Breaking Steel Crates upgrade, it's one that's shared across all characters. As, you know, sometimes a Lost World shrine is, you know, around the midpoint of the level, maybe it's a little earlier, or sometimes in cases like, say, Pyramid Cave or White Jungle, it's like at the tail end of the level. Well, you know, the timed missions aren't really all that different from a regular run. Sometimes they'll have the same A rank point requirements, sometimes they'll be a little less to account for the fact that you can't dilly-dally. You know, it's just, you know, do things a little faster, but also, you know, make sure you put a bit more of a flair into it. And in hard mode, you know, can make some levels a pain in the ass depending on which one you're going with. Though on occasion, a successful A rank run of those can lead to you having met the A rank requirement from a regular score alone, which did happen to me with Crazy Gadgets hard mode. So, you know, there's that. One other thing I should mention, for all the A ranks for the kart racing missions on top of missions 2 and 3 for everything else, it is is as simple as doing it within a certain amount of time, you know, no needs to get extra points for those. For missions 1, 4, and 5, for everything else though, you better not be slacking on getting those bonuses.
I don't mind 100 rings. I think the best missions are the ones in the speed stages because they aren't that bad. 100 rings is easy. Lost Chao, you just need to find the Mystic Melody and use it. I don't like the timer that much because it's basically you just play through this stage without, you know, losing to a.
I feel like the only time when a timer was a genuine threat was in the likes of Radical Highway's timed mission, until you will figure out that if you make a spin dash jump around an automated sprint section, and then homie they attack it and hold the button to get maximum air time, and then air dash onto the bridge above to trim down on quite a lot of time. It's, you know, not really all that bad.
I didn't do it. Still got the A rank on first try. I guess you're not gamer enough.
Yeah, I'll only take shit from you if you manage to get the crystal ring without the light speed dash.
That is absolute cheating. I will not accept that.
Skill issue.
Says the person who can't get across Chao Garden.
Okay, but for real, that's what I'm talking about with, you know, LSD-less crystal ring. Aidan will probably just put the clip on screen right now of me having my successful attempt and that it did take quite a few tries. Nice though, it was not easy.
Yeah, I'll put it on screen for you. Hard mode is good. I actually quite enjoy the mix-up, though it does remind me, it gives me PTSD to fucking Sonic Unleashed DLC stages, but not as bad. Because there's not like fucking spikes everywhere. With the treasure hunting levels. 100 rings can be tedious.
For treasure hunting levels, unlike the regular missions, treasure hunting stages, hard modes do not randomize the shard placement, or keys, or chaos summons in the case of security hall. They're fixed, but you kinda need like every upgrade in the book to be able to find them. The sunglasses / treasure scope in particular is outright mandatory to get some of these shards. Like, for example, a shard above the church in Pumpkin Hill, you literally cannot get it unless you climb to the top of the church's pointed roof, make sure Knuckles is standing completely still so that he doesn't fall off, and then, you know, use the Y button to cycle through your abilities until, you know, sunglasses pop up. Yep, you press the action button, you pull them down, and then the sprint just sends you flying, and you have to try and glide into the shard. Might take a few attempts.
Yeah. 100 rings treasure hunting. Not that bad, just kind of tedious. I don't do the reset thing. I just plan a route to get all the rings in the time I need to get the A rank, and it's not that bad. Lost Chao isn't as bad either because like treasure hunting already like incentivizes exploration.
Yeah, like Lost Chao and treasure hunting goes pretty well with each other.
Timer, same problem with. I just don't like timer missions at all. It just doesn't seem worth it. Mech stages. Fuck 100 rings. Lost Chao's not that bad. Timer, don't like it. Hard mode. Yay, I love more blind size. Totally fair. Let's be honest. I totally love it.
Totally fair.
On the other hand, though, because of the extra enemies, you can also get more score bonuses. And unlike future Sonic games, there is no bonus for holding on to a certain amount of rings.
Unless you're Sonic Unleashed, but we can talk about that when we get to paying the game.
I'm sure it's also a thing in Sonic Heroes and onwards.
No, it's
it was
not.
Definitely a thing in. I mean, it definitely was a thing in 06.
Oh, fuck 06.
You bet I will.
I know you will. Anyway, Kibbs, what do you think of the extra missions?
I didn't actually do them too much when I was
Baby kids.
When I was just a little man. I remember being frustrated with a lot of them though. And it's part of why I never really 100%ed the game and got everything. The other part is the Chao Garden kind of made it really difficult. I didn't mind the speed ones. It's just all the other ones. I hated them with the Knuckles and Rouge. Just all of them. I just hated doing all of those. For like the extra missions. And then the mech ones were fine, I guess.
Is it time to talk about Green Hill?
Just forgot. We haven't talked about Canon's core. Just to say this right now, I do like that it actually gets, the crew to work together on a gameplay level, because in Adventure 1 it literally just amounted to Sonic's friends grab the emeralds, and then the citizens of Station Square, take, the cheering of Sonic being back, from a bunch of, expos where Adventure 1 was showing off. This time it's, Tails, then Eggman, then Rouge, then Knuckles, and then finally Sonic, breaking through various security measures to get to, the Canon's core, hard to, stop the dangerous endgame thing from them happening. And it's a pretty satisfying gauntlet to run through, especially when you can really get the most out of, the time-stopping devices, as constantly maintaining a lock-on on them, with Tails and Eggman, and to keep it paused for as long as possible for an optimal one, or even in Sonic's section, and where you can just, spin dash through one and go for it so fast that, the timer just, pauses completely, and the rest of the stage is frozen in time. It's pretty cool. The 100 Rings mission on that one can be a bit annoying, because in one specific part of Eggman's run, where there's 2 artificial chaos in a room that will not reveal their weak spots until you get in close, it is basically almost guaranteed you're going to take a hit. But it is still entirely possible to get an A rank for the 100 Rings mission, and despite that, still kind of pissed me off though.
The stage starts off terrible, then it transitions to still terrible, then it transitions to okay, then it transitions to more okay, then it transitions to this is actually fun.
Oh yeah, I love that, for reasons we can delve into when we talk about the story, that there's a Lost World style water slide at the end of Sonic's section.
Lost World is in Sonic Lost World?
There was a special place in hell for you.
Anyway, Kibbs, you have anything to say on Canon's core before I talk about why Green Hill is good?
I was a super big fan of it when I was a kid, because it was just that hype moment of everyone's working together. But
cue the High School Musical song.
But it kind of sucks now. Just looking back, and just the most recent playthrough I did, I kinda hated it.
You did mention that last playthrough was 3 years ago. Maybe a new one is in order.
Maybe.
Pick it up, the HD remaster, don't mod it, don't be not PC race at the moment, and then somewhat fun.
Oh yeah, the PC version of SA2 HD, from what I hear from Aidan, has had some problems on his end. I know for a fact that when Some Call Me Johnny was streaming a 180 emblem of SA2, that SA2 on PC did not like being streamed, so he had to switch to the 360 version.
Yeah, this is going to be a problem for when I record it for the eventual review later this year, but other than that, the PC version is still fine enough. It's still on the same level as the 360 PS3 versions. It's just that the game constantly, froze on me, though. I realized, when I was going through it, that, it wasn't, a game problem. It was the PC just freezing then, booting back up. So I need to figure out what that is.
So much for the PC Master Race.
Yeah. So, Green Hill time?
Yeah.
So,
You know what? Someone who hasn't played it yet, I do like that it's, not, a 3D recreation of Green Hill Act 1's level design, but it's also shifted all over the place to make it feel a little more natural, like it's actually taking advantage of the 3D space. That's That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's actually
And,
like, my
it's also
favorite
a pretty neat reward because, we haven't mentioned this yet. Don't know why it's taken us like over 2 hours to do so, but SA2 was, Sonic's 10th anniversary game. There was even a special limited edition 10th anniversary, a bundle in Japan that was only available for like a couple of days between, that and the game coming out. That also came with sort of a, mini soundtrack album that contained a bunch of songs from across the series.
And remember, kids, this was a world before when you saw Green Hill Zone. Everyone visibly grown like that Game Awards 2021. Or whenever a Sonic Direct was shown. What Protector's doing right now. Literally what happened.
What a
I'm just glad it's not coming for Superstars.
I hope that the next Sonic game is it's only Green Hill levels. They just take a compilation of every instance of Green Hill and put it in a game.
I will destroy you in everything you love.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be so funny. Just like April Fool's prank.
Also, one thing I like
actually, April Fool's would, I think in Sonic's case, would be delivering us a goated game like with Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I still need to play that.
You play it before.
It's available for free. It only lasts like 2 to 3 hours. Come on, man.
Oh, I know.
I told him that.
Oh, I know. I've just been waiting for the right. I've just been waiting for the right
It's a
time.
2023 podcast, so time's a wasting.
You got until the second week of January.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna finish it this year, or rather, start and finish.
Well, it'll take like a fucking afternoon.
Yeah.
Anyways, Green Hill and SA2.
Yeah, like I said, I do like how they shifted it to make it like take advantage of the actual 3D and not like what they did in Generations. If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, 3DS Generations, where the first act was literally just the 2D level design for classic Sonic, as is.
Also, the Eric is actually pretty challenging. Actually, like you have to actually like go out of your way to collect as many rings as possible while destroying as many enemies in a chain as possible. And I really like that. And there's also like these there's also this cool thing I realized. Like, do you know how like in Act 1 in the first Sonic the Hedgehog, where after you go through those tubes, you jump and you fly in the air, and like there's those
SA2 retains that.
Yeah, but now it's a giant circle ring, so how high you can like light dash around each and every single one.
I mean, there's also the fact that it does, still, carry a similar weight to the swarm of rings in the original, only now it is once again realizing this is in 3D, we gotta shake things up, so now it's just a massive, ball of rings, and that's pretty dope. Also, they kept the original, they kept, either the original sound effects or sound effects that sounded very close to the original stuff for Green Hill exclusively, so, it was a really nice addition across the board. I just wish I could actually play it, and if it weren't for that damn Chao Garden.
Also, I'm pretty sure did they use the original song or a remix version of it? I'm not sure.
It's a remixed version, like, if it was the original, you'd hear those, drum samples that became infamous after Sonic 4 Episodes 1 and 2. That is not the drum samples.
Oh, you're talking about the one in a Labyrinth, not Labyrinth, a Marble Garden Zone. I know what you're talking about now.
No. I meant the drum samples used in Sonic 1 and 2's music.
Oh,
the...
But, no, Green Hill, it's a really good stage. I still prefer Metal Harbor. Anyway, let's talk about the story. The thing every Sonic
I think first off, we kind of need to talk about the visual presentation before going any further. SA2's quite the looker, like even to this day, environments are practically, they are pretty cutting edge for Dreamcast, which, I would hope so, because it was like the last title released on the damn thing. It's yeah, it retains that sort of grounded realism some of the SA1 stages had, like Speed Highway, but it's still got, some of that signature Sonic flair to it. Like, it's not, super uber realistic like 06 and especially Frontiers when they didn't really have loop-de-loops, oops in the open zones. You still got your more outlandish stuff like, the, lost jungles with big-ass vines that you swing on. You've got your, giant space colonies that if SA2 were to take place in its own 2001, said colony would have been made in like the 1950s. Things which would be, really funny thing to think about, You still got, your Pumpkin Hills. SA2, it's still, the level visuals still have that Sonic flair, only we've got, a lot of new stuff to work with, like, love how City Escape looks, love how Radical High Race Golden Gate Bridge was done. I fucking love all the levels in the Space Colony R kind of visual level. Like, there is so much to them that I just love. The colors, the lighting, the detail. It's peak. Not sure about the Tetris blocks next to the end of Crazy Gadget though. Like, that's kind of weird. But yeah. Character models, I really gotta give the props here. Like, those character models are some of the best we've ever gotten. And for these characters, I love the look of the playable characters in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, Shadow in particular, like, his SA2 model is, like, my favorite model for the character. Well, that or 06, but, it's like trying to pick between a gourmet pizza and some bitchin' chili. Like, they're both really excellent. But yeah, I've noticed that when it comes to the character models, Rouge is practically the curviest she's ever been. Like, to a kind of comical extent. And then I guess since we're on the note of being mildly horny, did you know that Rouge's boobs bounce in sync with her ears flapping whenever they do bounce?
Her boobs also jiggle in the opening cutscene with the Knuckles vs. Rouge fight.
Or, when she gets an upgrade. The designers for Rouge's final design, they were feeling something. Although, on a note of final designs and whatnot, I really do love how distinct Shadow and Rouge look when it comes to the cast, because when you look at their prototype designs, it literally is just silhouettes that look way too similar to Sonic and Amy. In fact, one of the drawings for Shadow's concept designs, that being Terios, one of those drawings actually got changed into artwork for Sonic because it looked that damn similar. But what we have now, Shadow's design and Rouge's, they're both peak. Hey, what can I say? And on the note of cutscene presentation, it's a major step up from SA1, because, I love that SA1 was like the first platformer to try and have a more dedicated story, and I really do appreciate the effort. That said, the gameplay animations that they reused over and over for those cutscenes did not really work out, and because of the pacing issues, which is something that Sly Cooper doesn't suffer from, it really hammered in that this aspect of the game was the one thing that definitely didn't age the best at all. SA2, on the other hand, decides to just opt for mocap, which, while it does bring its own set of weird animation quirks, because, remember, most of these characters, with the exception of the president and his secretary, Harry and Maria, they're all, cartoon characters with, weird-ass proportions, so naturally things aren't going to be the best, but it is, far better at making the cutscenes things feel, like, they're well done and not the one thing that they were absolutely struggling with. And also, cutscene pacing, on that note, is also much better, just with how, obviously with how things are paced. And I would also want to say that the voice acting across the board is just, substantially better. I wouldn't even say that's genuinely good for for the most part. I know a lot of people like to dunk on shit like, the interruptions and the random uttering of Japanese words, which, okay, the latter one was purely because apparently they decided to have, some Japanese, these devs or whatever, to oversee the voice direction for the English dub, which is never a good idea. Just ask Metroid Other M. But, I would say that the voice acting for the most part is genuinely pretty good. Ryan Drummond has worked out all the kinks in his Sonic voice and has pretty much reached its peak. David Humphrey is an excellent first voice for Shadow. Lonnie Manella was a pretty good voice for Rouge. I would consider her the best one for the character. There's the occasional odd delivery from her, but I would say that, for the most part, best Rouge. And I would also say that Scott Dreyer, the third voice for Game Knuckles, also because, there was that one guy in SA1 whose name has already escaped me, and then Ryan Drummond voiced him in Sonic Shuffle. So like what you do, we got Scott Dreyer for the rest of the Adventure era. Also, best Knuckles' voice. He just nails everything about the character. What can I say? Jennifer Dooley is alright as Amy, though I do find Amy in SA2 in general to not be the best she could be. Jean Bristow knocks it out of the park as Eggman. I am genuinely surprised that we have gone this entire podcast, closing in on 2.5 hours, and not a single Eggman quote has been uttered. But then again, the story segment will likely make up for that. I'm not sure how I feel about Tails' VA. It was the younger brother of the guy who voiced him in SA1 and Shuffle, who was going through puberty, as evidenced by Shuffle, and they were just like, alright, let's get the next child actor. And it sounds like he's just reading off the script the whole time, which I can't really fault him for, especially when the actual adult VAs sometimes struggle with their deliveries because the direction can maybe a bit off. A problem that is still there to this day, as evidenced by Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But it wouldn't be until Sonic X and by extension Shadow the Hedgehog and Rush that we got a good voice for Tails. Just saying that right now. Sorry, I got a little carried away.
I think that some of the animations can look like a puppeteer is controlling them, specifically with Eggman.
Yeah, if there's one thing I'll say right now, Heroes worked out the kinks in the cutscene animation department. So, this was something that Sonic Team was actively trying to improve upon, and yeah, the difference between SA1's cutscene presentation and SA2's cutscene presentation, it is literally night and day.
Also, the way the humans look in the CG department, that is nightmare fuel.
That is some edutainment PC game looking models.
Bro, that looks like it came from 1997.
But that's really the only truly uncanny part of the cutscenes as far as I'm concerned. I would say that, for something that had a larger focus on story and a bit of a strained development, which is something that a lot of Sonic games had, SA2 definitely managed to, do pretty damn well. I know a lot of people would like to compare it to Jak and Daxter, the precursor Legacy, which came out the same year on hardware that was probably comparable to the Dreamcast, that being the PS2, but it's like what I would say about SA1's cutscene presentation against the cutscene presentation of something like, I don't know, Crash Bandicoot. Crash didn't really have the best cutscene animations, actually. What the fuck am I talking about?
Crash
actually, you know what?
Scenes.
Let's use Spyro as a better example.
Yeah.
Spyro isn't trying to tell a much more involved story. Neither is Crash for that matter. And neither is Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter, and by extension, Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X, they had some of the best cutscene animation in the business for that generation. But in the case of Jak 1, it was not trying to tell that much of a story at all. They only started doing that in Jak 2. Sonic Adventure 2, meanwhile, was far more involved. In fact, I would say that platformers really didn't start to go into anything remotely looking like deeper storytelling compared to their former contemporaries until 2002 with the likes of Ratchet & Clank and Sly Cooper and Amphibious Raccoonus.
Those two.
And that is the holy trinity of PS2 platformers. has brought up into a single segment. Job well done.
What are we, Jay's reviews?
Well, I mean, you and I have certainly seen a lot of its content, and we have actually experienced those three franchises. Is enough to actually have some authority on the subject matter.
Yeah, that's right. Those three walks so that games like Celeste can run.
Anyways, Kibbs, your thoughts on, the voices for the characters and the cutscene presentation?
So, I think the cutscene presentation is, just really good. I actually especially for the time, I really enjoyed watching the cutscenes, and I would consider most, if not all, of the voices that we hear for these characters to be the peak Sonic cast voices.
In my case, I would definitely say that, Scott Dreyer, Lonnie Minella, and Jennifer Duliard are the best voices for Knuckles, Rouge, and Amy, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
With Sonic and Shadow, their adventure era voices are really good. But then there's Jason Griffith, and, kinda, I have to put my vote towards him for both of them. Tails' best voice came from the Studiopolis cast. Both of them.
Yeah.
With Eggman, it's a matter of we literally have two legends voicing him, Dean Bristol and Mike Pollock.
I mean, it could just be that, I grew up playing Sonic Adventure 2, so that's probably where my bias comes in, where I'm just
to be honest, you don't necessarily have to grow up with it, because, putting this out there right now, I barely had any experience in the Adventure era when I was growing up. I spent more time growing up with the 4Kids Heads voice cast and the Studiopolis has cast. And here I am thinking, some of these voices from the Dream cast, let's call them, had the best fits for their characters without a doubt.
I grew up with all three eras.
Lucky bastard.
I had Heroes. I had Heroes and Adventure for Dreamcast. I had Secret Rings and not an 06 for the 4Kids cast. I had and I had Colors and Generations for the Studiopolis cast. So yeah, I love each cast equally. The 4Kids always reign supreme. Probably because of Sonic X, but
I don't consider all the voice casts equal when it comes to how well they fit their characters. But we can save that debate for when we get to the likes of Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Generations, because, I specify that because that's where we actually get to hear most of the new VAs for the Studiopolis cast outside of Free Riders, which we are absolutely not doing a podcast on.
I kind of want to do a podcast on it.
You can do it alone.
Yo, we're gonna do a podcast on how we all broke our backs playing Sonic Free Riders.
It'll break my everything, and I will break it.
I played that game religiously as a kid. I was a Connect baby, okay? But in terms of presentation...
Nah, impossible. We couldn't tell.
We couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell when I talk about fucking Connect Sports all the time and Rare. But, what else? In terms of presentation, I don't really know what else to say in terms of presentation. Obviously, audio balancing, it's awful. We all know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's alright on Dreamcast, where it's probably about the same in Battle. On the HD ports, however,
But it is funny, though.
On the HD port, it sounds like someone recording something without a pop filter.
If we were to have music in the background right now, imagine me trying to talk here, but it sounds like my volume's scaled down to 2, whereas the music is at 8.
I'm glad we're gonna do that as a joke.
I mean, if you want to do so, that's on you.
That'd be funny.
I really like
BDSA one version if it doesn't matter. The instrumental specifically, so that there's no vocals, else muddying things up further.
Mm-hmm.
I really like all the funny memes that people use with Sonic Adventure 2, like characters like the you're a beta male Sonic.
Oh, those fucking oh my god, yeah.
Those are so good.
Yes.
Meme videos, like, okay, those ones are actually pretty damn funny. Man's always cooking up something funny. Remember when Shadow managed to avoid dating Sonic by reciting the Bible in Japanese? I am convinced that Shadow did genuinely study the Bible in Japanese just to fuck with Sonic.
I kind of wish we talked about the Adventure meme maker in the Adventure 1 podcast with all the like hilarious shit. I don't think we did, no. Because like there's some fucking gems made on that shit. Like
So, done by Jet, because yeah, his SA1 meme videos are some of the best. It's in the business. My favorites are the ones where, Sonic is failing so hard at picking up the hints that Amy's trying to drop that are not subtle in the slightest.
So funny.
Sonic avoiding his taxes.
Oh, this is also like kind of a given, but I do like how all the cutscene stuff look in Sonic Adventure 2 versus Sonic Adventure 1.
That's like comparing Sly Cooper to like Sly Thieves in Time.
Yeah.
So it should be mentioned, while we kind of haven't really dwelled on this a whole lot, but the whole thing about characters interrupting each other in the English dub, for one thing, while it is more prominent in the English dub, it is also a theme in the Japanese dub at times. Like, especially the moment where Sonic's like, don't touch that lever, and then everyone screams while Knuckles is just going apeshit with the shuttle. That's here in both languages, and to be honest, I don't really feel it was that of a deal breaker. In fact, people tend to interrupt each other in real life, so this is one quirk you could just let slide because, hey, Sonic's not going to let Shadow finish shit-talking him.
It was never something that bothered me. I always found it kind of funny.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I don't think it ruins the experience or anything. So.
I just find it funny. It's not funny. It's funny unironic. It's like funny, like looking at it. But like the only one that actually made me laugh, ironically, is just the Sonic Tails and Amy screaming scene.
Yeah, I can generally take the plot of SA2 seriously without having to constantly make the excuse of cutscene animations are really holding it back like SA1. Like, SA1 I do think has a pretty good story, and if there was a remake in a world where we can trust the Sonic team with such a task, I imagine that there would be vastly improved cutscene presentation that would make it easier for a lot of people to accept the fact that the Blue Rat can, tell stories and have it land.
Oh yeah, Luna. Oh yeah, we need to talk about this, or else Luna is literally gonna kill me. You can see Big in the cutscenes.
Oh yeah, you have to mash the face buttons in preparation for whenever he's supposed to show up. But you can have him scratching his crotch while he's hiding behind Rouge, calling Knuckles a creep. Here's a thing that can happen in Sonic Adventure 2, like, if Aidan's gonna be finding clips, he's probably got one playing over the screen right now showing exactly what I am talking about in this present moment. And, I am not lying. By the way, did you also know that Big was in the multiplayer mode of SA2 in the Dreamcast version as the extra playable character for the dark side in place of Eggman? Also, on that note, SA2 Battle, the GameCube version, greatly expanded on the multiplayer to the point where, it's some of the best multiplayer fun in any Sonic game, and it's a mainline release, not a dedicated spin-off like Riders or something. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of the various multiplayer modes in SA2 with friends, and it's, it gives the game so much extra replay value that it really is like the perfect Sonic game in terms of extra content.
haven't played the multiplayer in years, so I don't know what it's like. I just remember.
Should also mention the multiplayer does have some unique, I think, levels for itself, like a snowboarding race, down city escape, and a course that's all about rail grinding to the finish set. It's in the Pyramid Cave area.
I remember my little brother kicked my ass at that fucking multiplayer race, and I would fucking strangle him with a pillow IRL.
Well, that's just what siblings do, which is actually kind of toxic. Why do people normalize this shit? Anyways, you know, there are extra playable characters in the multiplayer. We are really just putting off the story and stuff because we keep remembering last minute other shit we can talk about. You know. But yeah, anyways, the other playable characters you can get into multiplayer are, you know, Amy and Metal Sonic for the speed made gameplay, the neutral and Dark Chao for the mechs. Though if you're playing Dreamcast, you get Big in place of the Dark Chao, which is honestly far better because it's funnier to see Big in Eggman's mech. And then we got Tikal and Chaos for treasure hunting, which, you know, didn't expect Tikal to be playable, but, you know, it's a nice surprise. And oh yeah, all of the, you know, main playable characters get alternate costumes, you know, like Sonic and Shadow's race suits that not too long ago were added to Sonic Speed Simulator, you know, new paint jobs and costumes for Tails and Eggman, and a very interesting outfit for Rouge. Did you know there was also DLC outfits in the multiplayer?
No, I did not know that.
It was something for Dreamcast. The GameCube didn't have them for some ungodly reason. But hey, at least the GameCube version also standardized the different character menu. Things even allow you to unlock one based on the secretary of all characters. And you know, oh, that's pretty cool. Should mention before we move on to me going on about the character menu things you can pick. You know, the alternate costumes do have their own, you know, buffs and whatnot, in addition to the, you know, extra characters having slightly different aspects about their playstyles, like Metal Sonic only having, like, shit like the Black Shield, and Amy being able to fire out power-ups faster in exchange for no, like, light speed dash or whatever. You know, Sonic's race suit gives him a sonic wind that can lock up a player's controls if it connects, which it will. So he's
absolutely insane, though.
That's hilarious.
He's the best character to play as in the multiplayer in SA2 speed stages. So it's kind of like with Super Sonic and Sonic R. You basically just had to make it an unspoken rule that his ass is banned. Though Amy is also very overpowered in said multiplayer anyways, so, you know, balancing issues. It's kind of like Super Smash Bros. Melee's competitive scene. Anyways.
Ban Fox. But,
oh yeah, speaking of banning foxes, we also got a ban, and, you know, alternate paint job Tails, whose mech goes at, like, lightning speeds. Eggman and the others can never catch him. I don't think Knuckles and Rouge's alternate skins have any noticeable buffs, other than whether or not people can keep their eyes on the actual gameplay and not on what Rouge is wearing. I'm convinced that someone on the Sonic team that was designing Rouge and, you know, some of her alternate costumes was really fucking corny, like, and I don't get why. Like, I respect the grind, but the shadow is right there.
I think it is now time where
Yeah, the character menu things, you know.
Oh my god, we are literally putting up everything.
Because of, you know, SA2's whole thing on character and whatnot, I really love that you can just pick different character menu themes and battle onwards based on the playable 6, Amy, Maria, Omochao, and the Secretary. I said before, you have to collect enough emblems and then hope they show up there in the black market for absurd prices. And with the Secretary's theme, we just gotta rotate the stick counterclockwise for a bit. And to the, you know, character menu, home menu. Oh, and I love that the characters do actually comment on everything you do, like, you know, which story you want to play, which stage you want to pick, or even just, you know, switching to them or bringing up the sound test. And by the way, the best ones come from the dark side. Like, when you're choosing when you want to choose someone else, Eggman and Rouge will actually take offense. You know, Eggman just like, what? You don't like me? And Rouge is like, what? I'm not good enough for you? When on the sound test, Shadow is just like, I'm not interested. And Eggman, well, this is no time to be listening to music. You know, like, it just adds this bit of charm that is, you know, it's nice. It's, you know, it goes a long way. Hey, that said, pick Shadow's character menu theme and never change it from anything else.
Okay, now we can talk about the story. And as Anakin said, before, this is where the fun begins.
Surprisingly, I don't have a lot to say about the story. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Sonic Adventure 2 fans overhype this shit, and it's like kind of annoying at this point.
All right, now I have a lot to say about this story.
I wouldn't consider it overhyped. Just the thing now, I wouldn't consider it overhyped until the discussion is nothing but comparisons to, you know, The Last of Us.
Why the fuck are you comparing it to The Last of Us in the first place? They're so polar opposite.
Slow down. I am not finished yet. You know, well, like, there hasn't even been a single comparison between the stories of SA2 and The Last of Us. From what I've seen, like, no one's managed to do that yet. Outside of maybe a joke, like, you gotta remember, not everyone's going to say that SA2... In fact, no one is outright say that SA2 like telling in general. You know, like, people just really like the story. Alright, and I would rather we not bring the thoughts of, you know, social media into this, because quite frankly, it's gotten super tiring. Like, I do not give a shit what people on Twitter think. If I think Sonic Adventure 2 has a pretty good story, I think it has a pretty good story, because if I'm going to let some random asshats on, you know, random Twitter threads, heads on Reddit posts decide what my opinions are, I had no real conviction in my thoughts, other than I'm just a mindless sheep. Anyways.
So, the story of this game is that Sonic is captured by the police because they thought he
more specifically, the government military, a gun. And no, it doesn't take him long to get out, you know, just bust. Let's open the door and the helicopter suspended several feet above San Francisco, hops onto the wing, and takes a bit of it off to use as a makeshift snowboard, and all while being like, talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies, I'm out of here. I like running better. You know, like that shot where he's spinning down and he shoots that signature grin, it's like, money shot. You know, like, SA2's hero story, it knew how to open on a high note to get people hooked. And after evading the military for a bit, because Sonic's just like, fuck the police, I'm the only blue life that matters. As, you know, we then get the iconic cutscene where he meets Shadow for the first time, and it all starts with this. A jewel containing the ultimate power. My David Humphrey impression might be a bit off, by the way.
Now I know what's going on. The military has mistaken me for the likes of you. So, where do you think you're going with that emerald? Say something, you fake hedgehog!
Chaos control! That's another thing we're gonna have to, you know, preface for the rest of this story discussion. SA2 has one of the most quotable scripts in Sonic history, and unlike SA1 where, lol, the pre-baked animations are so weird, you know, it's because they actually kind of nailed the English dub script with this one, for the most part. But yeah, you know, Shadow instantly proves himself to be someone in a completely different ballgame from Sonic at first, considering he's able to just, you know, basically teleport / manipulate space-time with chaos control, a technique Sonic has never seen before. And with one last flash after Shadow boasting about the fact that he's the world's ultimate life form, you know, basically his answer to Sonic's fastest being alive title.
There's no time for games. Farewell!
Yeah, you know, like, SA2, it was clearly wanting to try and, you know, do something new. You know, Sonic is now actively on the run because apparently, you know, the government and military confused him for Shadow, which a lot of people have a hard time buying. And okay, in moments where Shadow is in like a spotlight or just daylight, I kind of agree that it is kind of hard at times to really tell. Though, perhaps if it was just eyewitness accounts at dark, which the Japanese dub heavily kind of implies, as I did make sure to check that out before, getting into this podcast. But it is a bit of a tough sell. If there's one thing that's, is kind of wonky about this story, it's the whole Faker subplot. Like, you could tell this was a carryover from the initial script, where Shadow's, prototype design, Terios, literally was an evil Sonic in appearance. But yeah, then we just cut to Knuckles and Rouge, having some, tension over the Master Emerald, because Rouge decided to steal from Angel Island, Knuckles is naturally pissed, Eggman steals it, and Knuckles decides that the best course of action is to break the thing apart, knowing damn well that because of what happened in SA1, if it breaks, you could just, find the shards and put it back together. He would rather have it broken than being in the hands of a thief or Eggman, not much is for sure. And then Knuckles tries to bait the DC lawyers by saying, yeah, we'll see about that, Batgirl.
Knuckles thinks.
Oh yeah. Well, one last thing about the cutscene presentation that I didn't bother to mention. Outside of 2 key moments, there was no reused animation. Those two key moments are, the animation that plays when Knuckles is like, yeah, we'll see about that Batgirl, which comes back in a later cutscene where he's like, what kind of lady goes around stealing gems anyways? And, that, shot of the door opening to one of the Ark's rooms where Sonic is right behind it, it's the same for, the best Eggman cutscene and the, credits cutscene. But other than that, no reused animations whatsoever. It is all completely, different, and, each and every time. But yeah, so, after, a deviation to Knuckles' side of things, which does happen a couple more times before he finally joins the heroes, Tails decides that the best course of action to prove his best friend's innocence is to break him out of a high-level security prison on an isolated island.
That's what I'd do.
You are never gonna get a better wingman than Tails. He is going to break his surrogate brother out of prison because he knows damn well that, destroying military establishments or robbing a bank just ain't Sonic's style. And then Amy shows up to be, deadweight / comic relief.
Amy is the worst part of the story. I think we can all agree on that.
Right. Anything on Amy, Kibbs?
Yeah.
Like she literally just stands there and does.
Amy is an SA2 for the same reason Big was an SA1. It was likely to try and give us a comic relief character. Though unlike Big, where he did at least somewhat work, despite the fact that, SA1's intended comedy wasn't always the best, Amy just doesn't really do much. Kind of acts like she doesn't even have a Pico hammer on standby. I admire that she wants to try and save Sonic, so, props to her for somehow managing to get to Prison Island without any sort of assistance, but she does kind of get left behind a lot.
She's not even significant to the story till literally her final appearance in the entire game.
That said, I do like that the last story gave the recaps to her. That was a nice touch.
I know that, and then Amy frees Sonic from prison, and then she's like
using a key card that she got from Tails. And it led to a nice, funny exchange. Where Sonic immediately picks up interest when he hears that Amy ran into Shadow. She's just like, if I tell ya, will you marry me? And his response, no way! I thought I had you this time. It's like, Amy's kind of self-aware that, she's kind of got a thing for trying to ask Sonic to marry her, but she understands that what's more important is just laying Sonic out. By the way, before we continue, so because a lot of people tend to point towards the Japanese dub for, possible, weird plot stuff, it should be mentioned that in the Japanese dub, Sonic explicitly says that he let himself get arrested so that he could, trying to find some clues on who his faker was, or as the Japanese dub puts it, his imposter. So yeah, instead of faker, like in the English side of things, instead we've got Among Us.
No, not the Among Us. No.
Okay, but yeah, if you don't believe me, there's a screenshot that'll probably be on the screen thing, in the post edit with, what the Japanese script is saying. Sonic outright says, "I got myself caught on purpose so I could look for clues." Instead of the English script, which keeps it at, "The only reason I'm here is because of that fake hedgehog." As if he's just like, "Yeah, fuck Shadow."
I have a comedy idea. You know how like Amy says, "You mean that black hedgehog?" The government.
We'll save that discussion for Shadow's own game.
But hear me out.
It's gonna only go poorly.
No. Hear me out.
He's gonna get canceled on Twitter.
Hear me out. The government, the next time Sonic grunges to the government, they have their guns and Amy just comes out and says, "Don't shoot him, he's not black!"
Oh,
Like that
Dragon Ball Super Simulation dub has destroyed everything. Anyways, before YouTube decides to, shut us down, Sonic breaks out and he runs into Shadow in what is also an iconic scene, perhaps more so. Oh, so far so good. Hey, that's
that blue hedgehog
again of all places. I found you, Faker. Faker? I think you're that fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? You're not even good enough to be my... I'm gonna give you those words. The interruption is mandatory if you're crowing it. Like, it is not legitimate without it.
There's no time to play games. You won't even get the chance.
You're not getting away this time. There's only one real Sonic.
Oh,
also,
God.
I love that when Shadow takes a hit once, when you find him as Sonic in his fight, the English dub has him say, "I'm the coolest," which, for a time, he was the coolest, so, he was just saying the truth, Oh,
and his final hit is like, ugh, not bad for an imposter.
Among Us.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah. And just when you think that the worst it's gonna get is a fight with Shadow, hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you on it! Blows up! Yeah, like, holy shit. And, Hero Story's been on one hell of a roller coaster so far. We have Sonic on the run from the military, then we have a distraction with Knuckles, then we have Tails breaking into federal prison to save his best friend, and Sonic goes to Metal Harbor and then runs the Shadow and has what I presume to be an in-universe epic fight, because it certainly isn't a gameplay, and then has to make a break for it and find Amy and Tails right away before the island goes up in smoke. Spoilers, they make it out okay. Can't say the same for all the gun soldiers, on Prison Island, like, rest in pepperoni, I guess.
Their lives don't matter in the end. It was all to justify the means.
Well, I mean, in Eggman's case, that is his train of thought, yeah.
Then we get an interruption from Eggman in a literal, probably central Manhattan, where, because that's what it looks like. Right?
Oh yeah, man decides to be like, yo, I'm gonna blow up half of the moon to show how much power I have, and you will all bow down to me, which doesn't quite happen because, as far as the English dub is concerned, the public's in mass hysteria, so as Shadow puts in the Dark Story, our threats fell on deaf ears. I noticed that Kibbs hasn't really been talking much about this story segment so far.
Like I said, I don't have too much to say about this story, because to me it's just the character interactions are what make it to me. The story itself.
I mean, to be honest, with a lot of stories, I feel like character interactions are a core aspect of making people give a shit. Like, no matter how complex or well written the story, the actual plot is on its own, no one's going to give a shit if the character interactions aren't up to par. Which I feel is, something that does, alleviate, shit like the Faker subplot, because
Yeah.
not a lot of people really care when the character interactions and whatnot are so damn good. It's still a flaw, yes, but in reality, not a lot of people are actually going to get hung up on that kind of thing, but
Yeah. Like,
by the way, sorry.
I was gonna say, to me, like the Sonic Adventure 2 story it's just like a means to an end. It's just like it's nothing particularly notable. It's a little goofy, but
I hate to be a hypocrite here because of my earlier rant about this kind of topic, but when you consider the wider internet discussion of the adventure games are too dark and this shouldn't be in a game about a blue rat that runs fast, that's the whatnot. Yeah, it retroactively becomes notable, especially when you see the direction the series went when people moped and whinged about anything resembling these kinds of stories. But yeah, obviously, a lot of stories in quite a few bits of media could be considered cookie cutter, and by no means are the things that SA2's plot has are super unique, but sometimes tropes and cliches are there because they work and they're that damn good when you can make them work, and I feel like SA2 does at least understand the assignment in that regard. That's kind of the thing. Anyways, after Eggman's announcement, it showed, once we get past Eggman's announcement, that's the only reference to the band outside I'm going to willingly make, and that is the extent of it. Do not expect anything else. It's nice to see that Tails begins to take charge of the hero side of things, by, basically being the guy that makes the plans and having people execute them. Like, he's the one who decides to try and trace the energy of the Chaos Emeralds with Knuckles. I was coming out of the sewers from Necrotic Mine, and tracking down the signal to the space colony Ark, and then being the one to find the entrance to Eggman's hidden base, and the whole fake emerald thing. Tails not only created but also masterminded the plot involving it. Like, how Tails wants to be more of his, a bit more independent, be able to be brave enough to go up against Eggman on his own. Yeah, in SA2, he's practically the leader of the hero side story when it comes to the various operations. And it's not Sonic. And I really love that. Like, that's a good sign of Tails' growth. He is basically the one spearheading the fight back against Eggman, and really gotta give the kid A for efforts. He did really damn well in this regard. Like, SA2 is a really strong showing of what Tails is capable of post-character development.
Tails is a girl boss in this game, I'm just gonna say it. He's gonna gaslight Eggman, he's gonna gatekeep Shadow, and he's gonna girl boss all over the Team Dark.
But Tails was done justice in this game, like, so damn much, I love that, when they have to try and get deeper into Eggman's base, Sonic's first pick for someone to go look for the keys is Knuckles, with the reasoning being, we're counting on you, buddy, the world's greatest treasure hunter, and it's just nice for Sonic to just outright tell Knuckles, like, he's the world's best treasure hunter, like, no one else can reach his level. It's, again, the whole character interactions thing, it's the secret sauce. But Knuckles really isn't doing too much. He's just there to try and get the Master Emerald back together after he's shattered to stop Eggman from stealing it. But, the moments where he gets to interact with other characters are pretty damn good, so, his inclusion in the plot still pulls weight, and, it does culminate into the end game. And so speaking of the end game, Sonic and friends get a shuttle up to the space colony Ark, and we're going to pause the plot synopsis here, because I feel like now that we brought up the shuttle, we need to talk about something that has also kind of poisoned SA2 discussion, plot holes, or rather, what people think are plot holes. Like, yeah, there are a couple of things in SA2 that could be considered plot holes, like, there's no real explanation for why Gun went after her Sonic instead of Shadow, so you kind of have to headcanon that it's because they really wanted to keep the project a secret and had to go for who people thought was, you know, basically being a bit quirky at night. Right? And there's also another thing in the dark side, right, that we'll get to later, but it's kind of gone so overboard that people consider Eggman having a spare shuttle in his hidden base, where his operations will mostly involve use of a space colony to be, you know, like a plot hole or a security risk or what have you, when in reality, this is no less nonsensical than having a second egg carrier in case Chaos went rogue, only for that egg carrier to be, you know, blown to bits because the first one was already nuked, so we kind of have to explain why we reused the model. Like, you know, that kind of already establishes that Eggman isn't adverse to having backup plans. Like, you know, yes, he's got a teleporter that works just fine, but, you know, like, there was no harm having the shuttle, especially since the only organic beings are you, and the two associates you just met at, like, you know, the rest of the base is mostly robots that you could easily replace if, you know, shuttle security risks, you know, ended up breaking them. You know what, sorry for the rant, it's just...
It's understandable, because, like, it's also...
This is, you know, people considering the shuttle to make little sense, and kind of show that they don't have the best media literacy when it comes to Sonic. Like, I feel like it sometimes really is just Sonic, like, regardless of whether or not the execution is good.
Like, plot holes can be there to... you can notice it, but they can also, like, enhance an experience, like, enhance the story.
They can enhance discussion when it comes to headcanons, you know, for the fun of it, but also, is it really the end of the world? Like, SA2 doesn't have too many plot holes, and on occasion, it's purely because the English dub did run into a mistranslation, though in one case, it's still kind of iffy, you know, the Japanese end, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Anyways, you know, yeah. You know, they get into the shuttle, they get up to a colony after they bump into a meteor, which causes, you know, the hatch to open and all the emerald shards to spill out, so Knuckles just fucks off to go get them. And he runs into Rouge, where they have a rather intimate moment of beating the shit out of each other over a goddamn gemstone.
And then after that, they
have some romantic bantering, as Rook Blanco from Benton Omnibus would put it, before, you know, Rouge trips, has a bit of shock that would probably stop her from just flying out of the pit. Knuckles saves her, and they stare lovingly into each other's eyes before resuming bickering and then being like, yeah, you know what, I am actually thankful you saved my life. Here's the rest of the Emerald Shards, you can have your Master Emerald come back. And, you know, Knuckles does genuinely apologize for being rough with Rouge. I'm sorry if I hurt you. Like, you know, he was only being this aggressive because this is the thing he's supposed to guard, and it's putting a lot of stress on the man, you know. He is genuinely chill when the Master Emerald isn't in danger. And, you know, that and the interaction they have in the final cutscene makes me wonder that if they were allowed to, you know, actually develop a romance in a Sonic game, you know, like for more than one game and have it work, you know, Knuckles and Rouge could have become a genuinely canon ship and be the best romance in the series, because I'm dead serious. I think Knuckles and Rouge have some really good chemistry, and it's a shame we don't really get to see more of that in future titles. It's kind of just boiled down to Rouge is flirtatious towards Knuckles, calls him teasing, and Knuckles gets irritated, mainly in Sonic Rivals 2, you know. Just want to see more of it.
Yeah, little bits of it in 06.
And by extension, you know, one moment in Sonic Heroes' ending. But yeah, you know, after that we cut back to Sonic trying to, you know, carry on with Tails' plan, only for Eggman to be holding Amy at gunpoint, and so Sonic has to get to them post-haste. And oh yeah, another really good Eggman quote that I always love. You know, when you get to the final Tetris room in Crazy Gadget, Eggman's just like, well done, Sonic, but you'll never leave this room alive. Haha! And then we get the best Eggman cutscene of all time. Like, this is the peak of the character. No cap, Eggman's holding Amy at gunpoint and forces Sonic to hand over the emerald slowly. Hey, with Sonic, Hank, and Tails realizing that they could still pull off their scheme, and if they just play along with what Eggman wants. And just when Sonic just walks off to him and being all like, "You turn into a big-time villain, Doctor," he gets trapped in a capsule, and Eggman baits Tails into revealing that the emerald was fake. Sonic has no means of bargaining his way out. Eggman just outsmarted everyone, and Sonic's fate is set in stone. All he can do is just tell Tails that he's counting on him and ask Amy to take care of herself, and then just gets shot out. And the capsule blows up, with Eggman giving a final farewell to his lifelong nemesis. "Farewell, Sonic, my admirable adversary." Though in the recap, leading up to the second Tails' Eggman finding the Dark Story, he's like, "Yo, fuck that blue rat, I finally killed him." And, to once again praise Tails in SA2, he is obviously taken aback by the fact that Sonic might have very well just died. His conviction only further strengthens right then and there to beat Eggman and stop him no matter what. As he puts it, he's not gonna let Sonic down and he won't give up. What a Chad. But of course, after that kind of lame fight, we then get a nice interaction between Sonic and Knuckles after Sonic just narrowly avoids death with Chaos Control. And I know that people like to be like, "Why did Sonic perform a technique he never saw before so flawlessly with a fake emerald?" I don't know. How can you go Super Saiyan with 7 of the damn things? Sonic's always had some weird, nonsensical stuff that people just kind of rolled with. I mean, someone's plant flowers in a field, 7 of them turns the character into a Super Saiyan. They have positive and negative energies. Hey, the big one can turn a Chao into a water mutant thing. And, and oh yeah, bear in mind, the Flicky that was trapped inside Gamma somehow managed to influence him just enough when Birdie flew up to him in SA1 story, which, would kickstart Gamma's sort of mini redemption arc. We've been through some weird shit before, and bear in mind, I would be right there with them on this complaint if it weren't for the fact that Sonic is visibly drained. He literally put all his focus, all of his everything into that one desperate moment, that one final shot, where it's at being able to save the day, and it worked. Knuckles has to... Sorry.
You need a drink, bro. Holy shit.
Was getting a little bit clogged. Anyways, yeah. Knuckles has to help Sonic stand on his own 2 feet for a bit, which I feel people just tend to ignore in that one moment. And, it's a nice moment. Remember when Sonic and Knuckles were kind of at each other's necks and Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Here they are, just being bros, looking out for each other. And, it's a nice, heartwarming and kind of triumphant moment where Sonic asks Knuckles to go help Tails and Amy, and Sonic realizes that he's still got one final shot. But before the cannon fires, slam dunk it in there. And then the hero story just continues to be the hypest thing ever. You go through Final Rush, you pull a badass run, and then the final Sonic vs. Shadow fight. And, I think we can skip quoting it because anyone who's ever played Adventure 2 already knows, everything from that scene by heart. But, I just want to talk about the fact that Shadow's "Oh shit, this guy who I thought was my faker is actually a legitimate threat." And it's he's amazed that Sonic pulled off Chaos Control on his first go. While using a fake, and Sonic's response is to give a cocky eyebrow raise, and the interaction between the two in that whole scene, it's perfect. And then we get a good boss fight after that. Hero side story on another high note, but it's also the lightest on plot. What makes the story on the hero side of things good is the character interactions, because you talk about the plot, it does kind of boil down to Eggman's doing a bad thing. Go stop him. It's bigger in scope, and Eggman is not fucking around this time. but that's just it. Where you're gonna get most of the more in-depth story, well, in-depth compared to what a lot of other platformers were doing at the time, is on the dark side. So, you know, I'm just gonna drink that. Aidan, you can take over for a bit.
Bro needs his iron brew at the moment.
No, I'm just gonna drink water. In fact, you know, I'm just gonna mute myself for a bit and go and refill my mug. You can take over for a few minutes.
Okay. So the dark story starts when Eggman blows through the gun fortress because to find a invention of his grandfather's that he found in his diary. He finds his invention to be Shadow the Mother Flippin' Hedgehog, and I always found this weird how like Shadow says he acts like a fucking genie and that it's like I'll grant you 3 wishes. Have you ever found that weird, kids? I'll grant you 3 wishes. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's Sonic, bro.
Bro, when
I was young, I just ate it up. I'm like, yeah, of course, bro, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah, I get it. He really got him.
Then Shadow leads Eggman to be like, hey, yo, homie, you know, you want to destroy this planet? I got you, bro. Come on, this way. Then, obviously, Rouge and the Rouge and Knuckles cutscene happens right after that. Then you get Eggman going to the secret base, and we're seeing on the news, Shadow stole a motherfucking emerald, and he's like, oh, maybe Shadow's onto something, bruh. Then we see Shadow having flashbacks to Maria's death, and then him equating that to Maria saying getting revenge on the humans, which is why Shadow is trying to Shadow's trying to like do something, like trying to advocate Eggman like with his plan, like you understand what he's doing. Then you get the iconic Sonic and Shadow fight. Then you go onto the arc, and Shadow explains the canon on the arc, and then Shadow tells Eggman, and then the world can be yours. And then Eggman's like, And then Eggman's like solely impressed. Then you see that Rouge is on there, and Rouge is like, I can get the Chaos Emeralds for you. I'm like one of the best treasure hunters. Then we get onto the island where they
this is where things get good.
Yeah.
And like, you know, this is where you really get to feel like this is an operation that you only got one shot at and needs flawless execution to be able to pull it off, you know. And there's going to be a lot of gushing about SA2 Eggman. And funny, we've been doing that for Tails. Well, I've been doing some Tails. But you know, like, Eggman. You know, we already knew that he kind of meant business with the whole blowing up half the moon as a show of power. You want to know what his idea of a distraction is? Single-handedly crippling Gun's naval fleet. Man isn't fucking around. In fact, Eggman is just basically like Super Saiyan God Goku compared to, I don't know, Gun's Yamcha. Excuse me. Like, you know, Gun can barely do anything to Eggman like. He can break into Iron Gate, no problem. He boasts that his hidden base, which, mind you, is decorated to the brim with his own iconography, you know, basically making it a very big indicator as to where his base is. He's just like, those idiots will never find my hidden base inside this pyramid, because he is such a strong, independent military in of himself. And, you know, again, crippling Gun's naval fleet as a fucking distraction. Madman. Absolute jab. And I know, yeah. I love that Rouge is so confident in herself that she does not need 10 minutes or even close to the 15 that they have before the island blows up. She's just like, 5 minutes should be plenty, which is actually the best way to handle it, because she does need to spare a lot of time to make sure she can get off the island before it goes up in smoke. So, though an encounter with the flying dog mech does end up getting the vault sealed, and Shadow, in one moment that shows that he's not the dastardly Whiplash we'd like you to think he is, or well, not dastardly Whiplash, more like the tough, no-nonsense villain.
The asshole that people depict him as.
yeah, like, you know, he has a bit of a moment of flashing back to Maria and, you know, thinking about Rouge's his fate, and you know, while he does show some irritation and tries to pretend like he doesn't actually care, deep down, he was making a mad dash for Rouge to save her, like Chaos Emeralds be damned. He was not letting someone else that he did kind of care for die on his watch. And you know, even if he got interrupted by Sonic, he still pulled through. Like, you know, he was seconds close to failing. But he managed to send himself and Rouge all the way from Prison Island to the Space Colony Arc. And while he did have 3 Chaos Emeralds that naturally would have amplified the potency of Chaos Control, yeah, like, that shit was tense. They were kind of close. And it really adds to the intensity of, you know, the moment where you are in Prison Island on the hero side of things, because now you know what the dark side was up to and how you know, close they were to failing, and yet the operation still went smoothly despite that. And I love that immediately after we get a flashback to Shadow's days on the Ark, when he's just talking with Maria about his purpose in life and wondering if he'll find the answers on Earth, showing that once upon a time, Shadow was not bitter or jaded. He was just curious about why he was created. You know, had some optimism in life before, you know, Though I should also bring up something I love about Team Dark's interactions. For instance, SA2, you know how the hero side of things, it's like, you know, we're best friends, we got each other's backs, because we're not letting each other down. The dark side can basically be summed up as a bunch of co-workers that don't want to be with each other.
So basically
like,
a work setting.
Eggman is basically the dominating boss that wants everything done to perfection and gets irritated kind of easily. Rouge is just kind of, you know, the sassy hey girl that's, you know, just trying to get on with her own job, and Shadow, it's just kind of detached from everything. He doesn't really have any emotional stake in what the two of them are doing. I mean, it's just kind of funny, like, whenever it happens. But yeah, you know.
But after the Prison Island thing, the team realizes that since Sonic's escaped from prison and that they saw Tails, obviously, that they're gonna need to, like...
More so, they know that Tails has the last emerald, because in a nice attention to continuity that does feel really damn natural, Rouge brings up a newspaper article about the end results of Tails' campaign in SA1, which got him a Chaos Emerald as a reward. Granted, though, that would have had to have been after SA1's events as a whole, because the Yellow Emerald was inside Chaos at the time. But, you know, still, it's nice to see the characters' accomplishments get recognized in universe. But yeah.
They followed.
Let's just fast forward to, you know, the Egg Golem side of things,
where Eggman wants to give them a warm welcome.
Okay, so you know how Eggman's meant serious business? Yeah, obviously with the, you know, hammy nature, and the moments where he does kind of get a little pissed, there is still that, you know, comedic side to him that, you know, just makes him a joy to watch. Like, you know, when Sonic, with the power of a Japanese battle cry, he destroys the restraining bolt on the Egg Golem, Eggman's just like, what a piece of junk, and shouts, no! And Egg Golem is like, are you talking shit about me? And decides to just grab him, which naturally would have probably been how the heroes were able to get onto the shuttle without interruption. Eggman basically had to clean up his own mess.
But then, after that, you get a cutscene where Eggman and Shadow are looking at the surveillance camera where Tails is revealing a plan and the fake emerald. And that makes you realize that Eggman knew that the emerald was fake the entire fucking time and wanted to make Sonic's death look more fucking tragic.
Bro, Eggman
trolls them.
Best Eggman in any game.
Dude, like that moment single-handedly just ruined me. I was like, bro, how do
Like,
you do that?
you know, we've had moments in YouTube videos where that single cutscene was, analyzed as one of the best moments in Eggman and history. In fact, someone I found that used to be a member of the Countdown community by the name of Redude83, one of his earliest videos was, top 10 best Eggman plans after the top 10 worst ones, and the one he put at the top was that one cutscene in SA2 where Eggman was basically playing 4D chess. I like to headcanon that specific cutscene that because Eggman already knew about the fake emerald, perhaps while this was primarily just to basically rub it in Sonic's face that Eggman was in control the entire time, perhaps this had the other intended side effect of making damn sure that he wasn't about to eject the real emerald, like everything has to go just right, because Eggman is within a hair's inch of victory, and he is not letting it go, no matter what. But going back to the whole, scene with him and Shadow in the base, I do like that when he decides that it's his business to end the long drawn-out battle, he does mention that should Eggman fail, Shadow's the one who should finish the job. A rare showing of Eggman putting trust in someone else, which we can already tell would be betrayed, indirectly by the end of the game. And we should also talk about Rouge for a moment, I
feel like Rouge doesn't really, kind of like Knuckles, kind of doesn't impact the plot that much.
I mean, she actually has a lot more control over the plot.
I mean, yeah, she gets the chaos. She gets the chaos emeralds.
Logging tool, being the one to know where 3 of them are and leading that operation, getting Shadow to show a more soft side of himself. And of course, being the one that's looking into Project Shadow under the orders of the president, where she comes across documentation for the bio-lizard. So, it doesn't come completely out of nowhere, though it probably could have been focused on a bit more just to make sure that it wasn't a giant space flea from nowhere, that kind of thing. And she does get distracted by the whole Master Emerald thing, but we already went over the best Eggman cutscene, fast forward for that. She tries to steal these 6 emeralds that are in the Eclipse Cannon. Shadow's just like, I don't think so. But this is the moment where we get the other, plot hole, quote-unquote, besides the all bigger subplot, which kind of sort of is one, to be honest.
Rouge,
the whole moment where he's like, you're that government spy, Rouge the Bat, aren't you? Which, Shadow should not even remotely imply he's actually heard of Rouge before. That was a genuine, misfire on the English dub side of things. Though in Japanese, it's not much better. His line there is instead, you're the federal government president's specialist agent, Rouge the Bat. Though Rouge's line in Japanese, asking if Shadow's read up on her does imply that he just simply did some digging while he was in Eggman's pyramid base, so it's a little easier to swallow there, but they really could have made it a lot more clear there.
I feel
that
like
said,
it would have been...
everything after that point in that cutscene is really good. Rouge deciding to make Shadow question in his identity when he brings out the papers she has on Project Shadow, pointing out that the thing on the project papers is supposed to be the ultimate life form, and asking who or what is standing in front of her.
I have to say this. I find it funny that in the Dreamcast version, during that entire scene, they play fucking Flying to Freedom, Rouge's theme.
Flying to Freedom, it does play in the entirety of the Dreamcast versions take on that scene, but in GameCube, it transitions to silence, and then Shadow's theme throw it all away when it's more about him. And after Eggman informs Shadow of someone making a break for the Eclipse Cannon, we know it's Sonic. Shadow's like, leave the emeralds where they are. The fake one's good enough for you. But then it shows that Rouge is not going to let him intimidate her. She actually continues to press the question, is he the real Shadow? Are his memories even real? And this is where we see that Shadow, doesn't really seem to be too bothered by it. As he puts it, even if my memories are not real, it's still me, Shadow. I will fulfill my promise to Maria, and that's the only thing that matters to me now. Like, yeah, Shadow, he's loyal to a fault. But, it also means that if you have him as your friend, like, you've got to keep her. We already know what happens in the final all parts of the game, other than, the part where, Eggman slots in the real emerald into the Eclipse Cannon, which we know he did do in the hero side regardless, because he did manage to sneak away with the real emerald when Tails and Amy were mourning Sonic. But then, of course, this then comes to the final story, where it turns out this was all just a ploy from Gerald called Robotnik.
My great-grandfather, Gerald Robotnik.
Yeah. And it's then when we find out the whole thing. Well, at least what mattered to Gerald on his end. Supplementary material did expand on this, but what mattered was that, the government pulled a raid on the Ark all those years ago. Because they feared the Ultimate Life Form project and literally killed everyone on board, no matter, if they were decent people or not, which I would assume they were. And Maria ended up getting caught in the crossfire, as we saw in Shadow's flashbacks. And this caused Gerald to start going down a spiral of insanity, scared that he was no longer able to control his own thoughts, as all he could think about was revenge. And by the way, props to the English dub here, Mark Biaggi, who would be known for voicing Vector in Heroes, fucking nailed his performance as Gerald, in that rather chilling scene where we hear the events of what happened 50 years ago from Gerald's perspective, and then it switches to a creepy monotone where he explains, the basics of his plan, which he obviously leaves out what actually happens if you do so, which is why Eggman decided to go and check it out with no real second thought on the matter. And that was that. The Japanese side of things also mentions that Gerald completely controls Shadow's memories, instead of the vague, I designed its mind to be perfect, pure. Really good scene. All around. And it's when the heroes and villains, barring Shadow, decide, you know what, there's too much at stake. We have to put aside our differences, we gotta team up. And I love that Rouge is the one to think of a solution for dealing with the emeralds. Like, she remembered that what Knuckles said rather casually near Eggman's Pyramid Base about the Master Emerald being able to neutralize the Chaos Emeralds. And it's a really cool moment seeing everyone fight together to save the planet. But Shadow's kind of missing from this whole thing, so Amy decides, I've been dead weight for long enough, I want to do something to help, and she does try to plead with Shadow and appeal to his better half, asking him to give everyone a chance to be happy, which finally clicks with Shadow what Maria's true wish was. It breaks through the whole memory editing thing that Gerald did and makes him remember clear as day what Maria wanted. Like, despite the circumstances of her death, she wanted Shadow to give everyone on Earth a chance to be happy, and Shadow legitimately tears up when he realizes that he's inadvertently been going against his best friend's dying wish, and makes a mad dash for the Cannon's core to atone for his mistakes, which, really a cool moment when he just walks in when Sonic and Knuckles will stop by Lizard, just coolest character ever. Should also mention another potential plot hole that was not even there in the Japanese dub. Gerald mentioned in his diary about, a possible reason behind the raid, that being, the prototype of the Ultimate Life Form that had to be sealed, which the Biolizard was. And Knuckles does call back to this in both scripts. So, just, another weird translation snafu. But one that, fairly simple to fix. Thanks. And I love that we get the incantation that Tikal recited in SA1 when Knuckles is trying to, shut down the emeralds. It's a nice callback. And they even note that the Canon's core hosting the emeralds is designed to be like the shrine of the Master Emerald. All this, plus the artificial chaos on the Lost World water slide, heavily imply that Gerald had a thing for ancient Echidna culture, leading some people to believe that Shadow's design was based on the mural in Hidden Palace. Which does kind of track, at least back then, because Supersonic in SA1 and 2, and by extension the advanced games and the Rush duology, had the same quill cut as Shadow.
I like to believe that Shadow fighting the Bile-Lizard is just siblings fighting each other. Because they're basically related.
Yeah, the brothers.
Then after the Bile-Lizard fight, unless you wanted to bring anything up after that.
We've kind of covered everything that we needed to go up to this point. Let's just go right into it.
So then Knuckles takes up the Master Emerald and recites. Re-incites. Wait, you been through that?
Yeah, I mentioned the whole thing with Tikal,
Oh. Then we get Sonic and Shadow. They glance at each other like, yo, we need to beat this bitch. Then they transform to their super selves. Then
I love that Sonic doesn't even question why Shadow's helping them. Partially because, world's at stake, he's not going to turn down any help. But also, Knuckles did turn good before. What's to say Shadow isn't doing the same, and yeah, both of them going super, like, like 2 canonical super transformations, hence why I'll live and learn on this plane as I pop the final hazard zits in space when the arc is 5 minutes away from colliding with the planet's surface. Yeah, it's peak.
Hold on.
Everyone's cheering for them. And there's also some nice moments between Sonic and Shadow, such as Shadow outright saying, "Sonic, I think I've discovered who the ultimate life form is. It might be you. Shadow, I understand. You're unstoppable. Let's destroy this creature now. Everyone's waiting for us back on Earth." It's like, yeah, these two rivals have been at each other's necks. They're just, working together flawlessly to save the world no matter the cost. And believe me, I mean it when I say no matter the cost, because a couple of lines in the final boss, you might not hear them depending on how quickly you finish it, indicate that Shadow is not able to hold his super form well at all, because it literally is his first time doing so. Sonic has had, Sonic 2, free adventure, definite uses of the form in the past, so he can naturally, hold his rings together, so to speak. And just when it looks like things are about to fail, they both put everything they've got into one superpowered chaos control to not only presumably obliterate the Bile-Lizard, but also put the Ark back in a stable orbit. And it does take everything out of Shadow. As indicated by some of the lines in the final boss. He falls to Earth, having sacrificed his life. "Maria, this is what you wanted, right? This is my promise I made to you." And everyone on Earth celebrates. It generally feels like, crisis has been averted. Everyone's happy. It's a reason to celebrate, but back on the Ark, everyone is actually kind of mournful over what had to happen to get to this point. Sonic even hands Rouge one of Shadow's inhibitor rings, as a memento from the ultimate life form, and they actually just slow down and have a completely human conversation. And, they're not at each other's necks. Eggman does not want to stab them in the back at this moment. They just talk about, what Gerald actually intended for Shadow, only for Sonic to stand up for him and say, it doesn't matter. Shadow was who he was, a brave and heroic hedgehog to the end. And Eggman does actually genuinely question for a moment that did his own grandfather really want to blow up the whole planet, knowing that he still had relatives that he probably cared for are, still on that surface. With Tails, Tails, however, does lift his spirits, albeit not worded the best, by pointing out that, Gerald tried to do something pretty messed up, even if it was because of the tragedy that befell him, but they saved the whole world and prevented something far worse from happening together. And Eggman's just like, you're right. And, going back to Sonic, he does seem to be mourning Shadow the most out of anyone, seemingly just dwelling on the sacrifice of this hedgehog that had, kind of had a shitty life. And while he does try to play it off, being like, let's go home to the planet as cool and blue as me, it ends with, sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog, and, I really like the story of SA2. Obviously if this podcast actually does do numbers, I am expecting comments to be like, oh, you're putting way too much emotional investment into a Sonic story, and what if I am?
Well, though.
I didn't even grow up with this game. I grew up with Rush, Secret Rings, Unreached, Black Knight, Colors, Generations 3DS, Lost World 3DS. I played Moonlight Log and beat it long before I got to connect with the adventure titles. These were games I played in my adulthood. And yes, I love Sonic. I will make it clear, no matter what's going on with the franchise, even if it's making me super cynical about the future, it doesn't change the fact that this Blue Rat means too much for me to just simply say that I'm no longer a fan. I might not be a fan of how it's handled, but I still love the franchise, and Sonic Adventure 2, story reminds me of why I care of, it's by no means original, but does it have to be? They still pulled it off pretty well. Even with some plot inconsistencies, it was still a pretty well put together plot that pushed the characters through shit they have yet to be tested on, and it only showed just how strong the bonds were between them. The new characters, Shadow and Rouge, were excellent additions that just slotted in perfectly with the pre-established cast. Tails and Eggman in particular were at their goddamn peak here. Eggman especially. Sonic, Knuckles, Rouge, and Shadow. They were all really well done. Even Amy at least got her moment to shine, showing what makes her special, her gift of empathy. And everything that we've been through on this journey, it means something. And I love that after all the excitement and intenseness, we just get a moment to have the characters slow down and reflect on what's going on. This could very well, sayonara Shadow the Hedgehog could have been the final words uttered in any Sonic game if the series went down with the Dreamcast. And you know what? It ended on a really high note.
The quote idea.
There's a reason why Shadow, as a character, and his death left such a major impact that would eventually propel him to be the second most popular character in the franchise, and sort of inadvertently lead to his own degradation. But that doesn't matter. SA2 as a whole is really damn good, and I have to applaud Sonic Team for pulling this shit off, because there was so much against them. You can take a look at the Golden Bolts video on the development troubles of the adventure games Heroes and Shadow for more information on this matter. But point is, they were going through a lot, and naturally this would have affected other stuff, like maybe how the music was handled, given the two styles that Shadow's music switches between. And I understand that this would have caused a bit of stress for Shiro Maekawa when he was writing the story, but there is a reason why a lot of Sonic fans hold it in such a high regard. Very, very few of them are ever going to say that it's objectively high art storytelling that only the most big-brained of people can understand. Because they would, like, they're not going to go, very few people are going to go that far. Like, even those that praise it to high heaven are not going to do that. What they are going to say is, it is a pretty damn good story, and a franchise highlight because of that. And that's on top of everything else. Sonic Adventure 2, I initially believed to be below Adventure 1. And yes, but as time has gone on, it has evolved to being like possibly my second favorite Sonic game of all time. The only one that has genuinely surpassed it, no catch whatsoever, is Sonic Unleashed. The HD version. Let that sink in. Neither of those I played when I was a kid. They were more so the elusive titles for the longest time. But if I'm able to love and enjoy them, like, before people could play the whole rose-tinted glasses card, that should speak a lot about what they managed to execute here. And that means more to me than any Metacritic score of what the current popular opinion on them is. SA2 is one of my favorites, and that's that.
SA2 is a game that I may have problems with it, but I will always enjoy the overall experience a lot. It's a game I cannot see people put in at least the top 10 or even top 5 for that matter. It is a game where it feels like I have problems, but it's so expertly put together that you kind of end it with wow, they tried their damn hardest to not feel like this is gonna be the end of Sonic, even though if it was gonna end, but also the ended era of Sega console. It felt like the swan song of the Dreamcast, and that was the final game they released on that console.
Yeah, you can.
And what a good swan song it was.
As IGN put it, if this was the end of Sonic, they didn't end with a bang. They ended with a sonic boom.
Truer words were never spoken.
Yeah, it's just so much love and care was poured into Sonic Adventure 2. And that's why it stayed just one of my favorite games ever.
There's a reason why SA2 became so beloved and became one of the best-selling GameCube games of all time. It was genuinely that well done, even if some things have aged in hindsight. People loved it. They consider one of the best. And it was only thanks to people being so damn salty over 06 that they decided to look back on it and be like, nah, this was kind of shit, actually. Hey, but that is besides the point, There's a reason why the game has seen a resurgence in positive reputation, People have decided to, come out of the woodworks now that most of the people who would have trashed SA2 and harassed others who liked it and have gone, they're now able to just get their voice out there and say why it means so damn much to them. And there's a lot more value to be had in that than, just mindlessly following trends, whether it being dark stories bad, comedy stories bad, or something like that. There's a reason why so many people who grew up with it, and a lot of people who jumped in far later, hold it in such a high regard.
Well, this was a long podcast. Holy shit.
A little bit.
We are closing on 4 hours.
That's basically what the bot is saying.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is our longest one. I feel like it's gonna get longer.
And I'm pretty sure I carried most of this podcast. Holy shit. My voice box is almost destroyed.
You need to stay off of your voice for at least 4 days, bro. Holy shit.
Nah, a good night's sleep will do the trick.
Just wait for Secret Rings, where he's gonna defend it. Holy shit.
Nah, wait for Unleashed.
Oh, Unleashed? Oh no. But unless we don't have anything else to say on why Sonic Adventure 2 is probably Sonic Team's magnum opus, I feel.
I feel like Sonic Team has had several titles you could call a magnum opus. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Adventure 2, Unleashed, Colors and Generations are highly beloved by many, so we can throw those in.
More so Generation.
Last thing.
Yeah, I already mentioned Generations, and then also some of the other spin-off stuff like Nights of the Dreams that's highly beloved. Sonic Team's got, kind of gone down the shitter over the 2010s, but that hasn't stopped them having some good shit on their resume.
Yeah.
Last thing that I'll say is that Sonic Frontiers is so mid. That's all I got. No.
Oh,
I love Sonic Adventure 2.
I
Just
kinda wanna-
everything about it.
I kind of want to do a Frontiers dedicated podcast when the final update comes out. We all play it.
Oh man.
I'll be there with you, man.
I mean, we still have like a bunch of other games I want to talk about. Like, me, you, and Nax don't need to do that Tears of the Kingdom podcast.
You're right.
I just need to talk to Nax to see if he did it yet.
Actually, the note of
just
future
played it
plans,
yesterday.
wait, hold on. Actually, maybe we should stop spoiling our future plans because, the bot's still recording. We need to end this. Anyways, yeah. Apologies if this has, gone on for too long for some of you, but we just had a lot to say, and that's going to be a recurring theme for every 3D Sonic game going forward. Like, could you tell that these games are often the focus of discussion for the franchise for a reason?
Yeah, like Sonic Adventure 2 is alright, I guess.
There's a reason why we care about this franchise, and I think this recording session has shown it.
Yeah.
So, it was fun talking to y'all. Like, these are really fun to do, and I wish we could do them sooner, but it's just that we've been busy.
We really need to try and find a way to do these things on the regular, but anyways,
At least
for those
once a month.
listening in on us, thanks for spending close to 4 hours of your life listening to just a bunch of nerds talk about a blue rat. And then we'll see you whenever the next episode shows up. Could be next month, could be the month after.
See y'all next time.